Oh, so it's straight up just gonna. All right. Well, I guess we are not going to get our intro today. It's not want to play. Apparently, we're just going to go straight into it, which I told Keila. I was like, watch. I was like, it's not going to do what it's supposed to. And it didn't. So the powers of live streaming. So welcome to episode 223 of Power Bombshells. I am Sam, and that is Keila. Mel had some in real life things to do today, and luckily our other Power Bombshell was available to come chat with us today. So very excited to have Keila Cash back with us, and not for a pay-per-view. Keila can actually talk about non-pay-per-view things. Welcome back to the show, and how are you today?
I am doing good. Good to be back. Glad to fill in for Mel this week and to not be here just for a pre-show, which I always love because I love dropping nuggets of wisdom and predictions. But it's coming, y'all, soon. We're about 2 weeks out from All In. I'm very excited about the card, but I'm very happy to talk just some straight up news and biz covering AEW and WWE.
Yes, and some really good timing for that. When I saw some of the stuff that was happening this week, I was like, oh, it's even better that Keila's going to be here this week because she can weigh in on some of this WWE stuff that is happening. And so, and like I was telling Keila off air that I was last week I was filling Mel in on some of the current status of the WWE women's division, and she was just like horrified. was like, I'm sorry, you have to watch that. And then we had someone in the comments were like, can we please talk about something positive like Grand Slam Mexico? So sorry to say that we are probably going to depress you a little bit, but I promise we have lots of other happy positive things to talk about this week. Crash says, hello, Sam. Hello, Killer Queen. Missing you, Mel. Welcome. Okay. Let's see. And so I guess I don't want to spend too much time because, like, Keila, I don't know if you watched any of the G1, and for the people who are watching, I don't know if we want to spoil it because I did happen to watch it live. That was not really the plan. We were kind of up anyway, and I had to take the dog out, and I was like, why don't we? I was like, I wonder like how close to the main it is. And so Nikki was like, well, I'm going to turn it on in my room. That way, if I just want to watch it from my bed, I can. And so we turned it on, and there was just it was a 6-man match was on, and she just kind of left it, and I was brushing my teeth, and she was like, get in here. And I was like, okay. So I went in there, and I apparently missed something Callum Newman did. But Gato was talking to him and was like, we need to fix your attitude. And I was like, oh, all right. And he's like, I have somebody who can fix it for you. And it is one Jeffrey Cobb has come to, I guess, have his own AA. He's gonna have an attitude adjustment for Callum Newman. He came in the ring, and Callum thought he was coming back to rejoin him in United Empire, and Jeff Cobb was like, not so fast, and he took him out, and then he raised his fist to say that he's with the Unbound Company, which I'm really excited about because I love that group. There's some heavy hitters in there. Jeff, I think, will fit right in. Given Callum something fresh to do. So I'm really excited, and we can just pretend that JC Mateo never existed.
I don't know who that man was. I always called him JC Chavez from NSYNC. That's how I was. I don't know who that man was. My favorite one as well, Sam, my favorite member of NSYNC. So I'm going to roll with JC. And JC is back to being Jeff Cobb in New Japan, a place he never should have left. So I'm going to treat this like Men in Black. I was neuralized. That whole calendar year he was in WWE, it never happened.
No, he just happened to make some extra money that year, and he secured a bag. So he went away and came back all refreshed. He's ready to go. And that I don't know what you're talking about. That never happened. Never. So I don't know. Should I spoil? Fernando says yes to spoil the main event. Let me see if I can find the where's our lovely little graphic that we have for spoilers, because if you haven't watched the G1 yet, and you don't want to know, now is your time to run away. And here's our very 2026 spoiler alert. You have now, I'm telling you, if you haven't watched, come back in just a few minutes. I probably won't talk too long about it, but come back in a few minutes if you don't want to be spoiled. But yes, so okay, there it goes. So the main event was Yuya Uemura versus Big Roy Hei Oiwa. It was everything that I wanted it to be and even more. It was 35 minutes long. It was wrist locks, chin locks, just Zack Sabre Jr.'s wildest dreams in the main event. And it had everybody on the edge of their seats, which is crazy in 2026 to see that type of wrestling getting that over. And I even said at one point to Nikki, I was like, is this match really good? I was like, are we really going to have a G1 match in a wrist lock? Because it was, I was like, and I don't hate it. And it was just incredible. Big fan of both guys. I have enjoyed them both for a really long time. I watched Yuya while he was here on excursion in TNA, and have been rooting for him all along. He struggled when he got back. I've always been a big fan of Big Roy. And if you haven't, I've told the story on here before, but the reason, Oiwa is called Big Roy is because actually Lyric started it, because Jeff Cobb actually joked about how he wants to be American so bad because he has the mullet, he wears the shades, he's just really into American culture apparently, and Lyric's like, I'm gonna call him Big Roy. And so it stuck, and that's what Nikki and I call him. And sometimes we forget that people don't know who we're talking about, and I've had them look at me like, who? And I'm like, Oiwa. And they're like, oh. So, but congrats to Big Roy. He did pull it out in the last minute. And oh, God, what an incredible match. And I was so happy for him. Zach was out there. So was Fujita and Hartley, and poor Yuya broke my heart. Just crying in the ring. And I feel his time is coming. But I'm so happy for Big Roy. And TMDK is like, we have, Zach's got to be, I told Nikki, we were talking about how Zach has got to be so happy for his young boys, because Fujita won. He won Boss J last year. Then we have Oiwa won the G1 this year. Hartley got a title this year. So Zach has got to be, I think we lost Keila. But we do have TMDK is on top right now. So very excited for all of them. And I'm excited to see where things go. It was really cool to see Tenzan. He was super emotional. It seemed like he was more emotional for Oiwa's win than he was for his own retirement ceremony. Which was interesting to see, but I'm really excited for where things are going in New Japan. I think it's about time that they kind of started pushing some of these guys, the next generation guys. You've got, of course, you have Tsuji, who is your world champion, and then you have Oiwa, you've got Yuya, you've got Shota when he's healthy and they can book and can figure out what they want to do. And so good things happening over there. And apparently I am yes, Curryhead, it's because of you that Keila's internet has gone out. She just messaged me. So it may be so we shall see if if Keila makes it back with her internet. I think Curryhead and QT cursed us, maybe Dan Housen a little bit too. So we'll see. Maybe it's just gonna be me and you today. Curryhead, that's a good question. Absolutely the main event, even though I just spoiled it. You definitely should watch that. Actually, I have my match of the year list up here. And there's actually there's some honorable mentions and match of the year stuff on here. So I would say, let's see here. You could watch everything to get the full scope. I had to, just because of my schedule, I had to pick and choose what to watch. So I did end up watching like all of Zach's matches, all of Oiwa's matches. I did catch some Aaron Wolf. There's also, what may also be a good thing is New Japan put up some of the matches for free on World. And usually if they're good enough to be for free, you need to watch them. And so, but yeah, I have from night one, I am biased because I was at night one. So just watch night one because there's a lot of really good stuff there. Then I would absolutely say, I have a whole list here that I could give you. What else is on here? Tsuji versus Yuto Ice is absolutely one you need to see because that was one of the craziest matches I've ever seen. And then Takeshita versus Goto from August the 6th was really good. Tsuji versus Bolton Oleg. I believe that was the same night. Big Roy versus Takeshita from night 12 was really good. So there's a ton of good matches. And if you need me to, I could post it somewhere so that you can see it all. But absolutely start with night one. Check out the free matches that they listed. I didn't see, I know there's probably some other stuff that I need to go back and see. Like I know Shun Skywalker showed up yesterday, technically Saturday, during one of the trios matches. I think it was a trios match, but he showed up and took out Takeshita. So it seems like they're going to be building a feud. He's making his debut, or he made his debut. He had a match on the finale show. Obviously, Jeff Cobb is back. So there's some good stuff happening there. I did see that Shingo called out Claudio. I saw a tweet about it this morning. I guess he was saying that basically he didn't do so well. I think he went 4-5. And he said he blamed it on Claudio. He was like, losing to you is where this all started. So I want to face you again. So it looks like there's some stuff there. Because Gabe is there, Wheeler Yuta came and did a couple of matches with him for some obviously Death Rider stuff. So they did some Death Rider things, which I did not watch, but I did see a clip of young Wheeler getting beat up. We did skip the Gabe Kid and Drilla unless it was someone we liked. Yeah. That is true. And now apparently I saw some tweets about it, but I didn't have time to go super in depth. But apparently Gabe Kidd and Drilla are feuding now. And Gabe Kidd was like, well, you stayed here, so see if you can take this title off me. So apparently that's the thing that's happening now. So I don't know if it's going to lead to anything. How soon I know there's a show September the 6th. That's the Blue Justice show that Nagata is doing. So I don't know if anything will happen there or if it'll be on like one of the Road 2 shows that are coming up after that. Yeah, Crash said he's here for it except for AI Antonio Inoki, Mecha Godzilla push incoming. Yeah, I was not a fan of that at all. It was creepy. It was weird. I know that technology is seen a bit differently among the Japanese population, so maybe they don't see it the way that some of us do, but I don't need you ruining the planet to show me AI Inoki. Like that was, please stop doing that. And I told Nikki, the one good thing is we know Tony hates AI, so he should not be bringing AI Inoki to Wrestle Dream. At least I hope not. Crash, it's not just an AI video of Inoki either. It was an actual android they're building, like a real life cyborg from the sounds of it. Bleak. Ugh, gross. Even worse. Yeah, not a fan of that. Yeah, it did kind of look like that's what we're going to do here, is that Drilla is going to take the title from Gabe, which is probably the best, because it sounds like, I'm sure once Gabe is healthy, he's probably going to be in AEW for a while, and I don't know how much he's going to be going back and forth between the two, so it's probably better to get that title on someone who is staying there all the time. Tokyo Dome being converted into a giant data center. Good Lord, please no. Please no. I did just hear from Keila. She said that Her internet is down. I mean, her cable is also out, so she may or may not be with us. So I'll probably be here a while. So, or maybe this will be a super short show. Maybe you don't want me talking to you for 3 hours. So we'll just kind of wing it and see how things go. Again, the power of live streaming. Let's see. Curryhead said that's the weirdest thing that he saw. It would be like Brody Lee on AEW, which I would be completely against. So yes, but it is, yeah, that is kind of similar. No, thank you, please. Yeah, Nikki said, okay, she said that she saw that. She doesn't remember what I was doing. She forgot Gabe had a title, so she just stood there trying to remember what title and if Gabe stole it from someone. No, he took that title off of Shooter right before he took it off of Shooter right before the G1 started, because that's when he beat him up pretty badly, and then Shooter ended up getting injured the first night of the G1. But it was the title that Shooter had right before, because it's the global heavyweight, right? I believe that's the title. Yes, it was very freaky. Poor Keila. So she says she will, if her internet comes back, she'll be here. So so maybe we will see Keila back. Yes, I think that's pretty much it for the New Japan stuff, unless you guys have any other questions about that. Because like I said, I didn't see the full show. I only saw parts of yesterday. I will say, we did go back. So yesterday afternoon, we watched the semifinal matches. And then last night after Collision, we went back and watched the Tenzan retirement ceremony. And nobody does retirement ceremonies like New Japan. That was a really, really cool thing that they did for him. And he got in his last match, and bless him, he definitely has given his body to wrestling. And it's definitely caught up with him, and he should definitely listen to Chono and get healthy, rehab, do whatever he needs to do so that he can live a healthier, more comfortable life. But it was great to see because of course I know who some people are in New Japan that have long since been retired, but there's quite a few. That's a history that I'm not super familiar with, so it's always really cool to kind of see some of the people who are still around get to come out and show their respects for people. And I thought it was really cool to see, and like the stuff with Tenzan, and I think it was I think it was Chono that slapped him right while Ricky Chosu held him in place, and so that was really good. So it was a lot of fun kind of seeing that, but it is very long. You will need to dedicate an hour and a half of your time to that. Crash says it's Antonio Inoki's brother whose company is behind building the thing. It's up here with Tom Brady cloning his pet dog. I guess I shouldn't be surprised. Yeah, because I did see somebody post on Blue Sky yesterday. They were like, Antonio Inoki would probably be on board with this. So now knowing his brother's company is behind it, it makes even more sense. And I'm sure that means we're not going to see the last of it, which no, thank you. But Tony, please don't bring it to Wrestle Dream. Please honor him, but not by not bringing that. No, thank you. Don't do that. Oh boy. Fernando, I don't know that that's a can of worms I want to open right now. There's a lot of it's not just GCW, it's I'm assuming are you meaning the GCW drama in that they brought back Drake Wirtz last night to help the former Joe Gacy win the title, or are you talking about the stuff with Joey Janela and Adam from Produce? Because that is a whole can of worms that probably needs an entire show dedicated to. But yeah, there's a lot of drama there, but I don't know why they decided to bring back Drake Wirtz. I haven't kept up with GCW as much as I used to. And of course I checked some things out over Mania weekend, but since then I've kind of just watched through clips. And so I don't know why they felt the need to bring in Drake Young. Yeah, that's just, there's a lot of stuff there. Now there have been women coming forward about Adam from Produce's behavior towards them in a unwanted sexual manner, which is disgusting. And I'm a little mad that I went ahead and bought a season ticket to watch the first 6 shows because it looked really cool. There's a lot of talent I like. I wanted to support some people, support indie wrestling, watch some cool shit. And now I wish I could get my money back. I don't think we are going to be able to be refunded for that. But it's really unfortunate that it happened. But if you have someone who is harassing women and trying to sexualize them, or trying to trying to entice them with shows and then buying them tickets and exchange, thinking you're going to get something in exchange for it, it's gross, and you need to be called out for it. That's how people got away with in speaking out for so long, is because it was brushed under the rug. And so it's just, I have a feeling that drama is going to keep going. It doesn't sound like their shows are going to be ending anytime soon. They released the schedule, I believe, for 9 shows total. The first like season ticket that you bought were for the first 6 shows. They've done 3. So it doesn't appear that they're stopping. So it appears, and I hate that for the talent, because you want people to get paid and have cool platforms where they can reach a lot of people, but also you don't want to support more of the same bullshit that's been happening. So yeah, it's just right. Yeah, it's both of them. It's not one or the other. They both look pretty bad. But I do, and this is not, I was talking to Nikki about this last night. Like last year, I think it was, Joey said that I guess he and Drake, I don't know if they've become friends, or I guess Drake had apologized to him, or not apologized to him, but I guess kind of explained where things were. He was trying to make amends, it sounded like, and apparently from Joey's point of view, he was trying to change. And so he was saying to give, he was like, not everybody has to give him a second chance. He personally, I guess, was going to give him another chance. And I haven't really kept up with Jersey Championship Wrestling, but apparently he's been working there too, from what I understand. So there's just a lot of gross things happening in indie wrestling and just in professional wrestling in general. So there's just, it's a lot, and it's unfortunate that it's still happening, but I'm glad that it's being called out, because nothing changes if it's not confronted. Yeah, I don't know why you would bring in that person. And a lot of GCW fans tend to be of more liberal minded. And then, like, I saw some people talking about, like, today, Rachel Ellering was like, there's plenty of people who are great people that need jobs and can be hired, and you don't have to keep bringing these people back. And Tom, not that Tom Green was saying, of course, people are allowed to change and you want them to, but that doesn't mean that they get a spot on a big platform. Especially when some of the harm that he was doing was, because of his beliefs. Like, he ran for office to try to, so that children didn't have to be, vaccinated or things like that. And so in that way, he could harm tons of other people. So I do not want to see him in wrestling at all. And I haven't gone out of my way to watch GCW in a while, and I will not I do not have any plans to watch it. Yeah, Brad says people should be allowed to change if they are serious about it, but Drake being QAnon, anti-vax and MAGA is a line too far for me. Yeah. And maybe he has changed his beliefs. Maybe he has realized that, all of those things that he believed were wrong. But even if he does, that doesn't mean that he deserves a big platform. And that he's attaching himself to your new champion on top of that. So it's just not for me, and I don't like it. I don't appreciate it. Okay. Okay. Yeah, so I do want to go back to oh yeah, so Curryhead says the first thing my father taught me about the birds and the bees was consent. If there's anything else I learned from that talk was consent. What happened to all the talk about consent? People just don't seem to care about consent, or they don't understand what consent is, or they don't understand that consent can be given and then somebody can change their mind. Seems to be that we need to go back to teaching what consent actually is and what like an affirmative yes is, an enthusiastic yes is, and yeah, we need to have some conversations about that again because, or you just also people get to a certain status and think that they're untouchable, and so all that goes right out the window because they think that their status will protect them, which is how that's how we got to where we are in a lot of different things. Crash said, I think that it's a false trap to fall into. It's not being a liberal conservative perspective. It's about principles, ethics, to my mind, making the right call. Yeah. That makes, for sure. Let's see here. Yes. And so I'm glad that we had that conversation that we had last week about the theory that Swerve was bringing in Kofi and Austin. Because it did seem like he was heavily teasing them coming out, because why else would Swerve come out in a trio segment? Yes, he was making the point like that he was the common thread between all three of them, that he has history with each of them. And I'd made the joke that Swerve did mind if a white boy spoke a little Espanol, because as soon as Hangman got that out of his mouth, Swerve's music hit. So, but why else would you come out during trios business if you weren't planning to make yourself part of a trios? Is kind of how I felt about it. Then you have the Demand out there. The Demand and Lethal Twist seem to be working together. We all saw that last night. Lethal Twist got a title shot. And they did lose, but then afterwards, the Demand came out there. They attacked the champions. Swerve obviously did not come out for that part, but it does definitely seem like he is heavily teasing something. And then also we do know that Kofi has trademarked his real name. He has also trademarked his initials, which are KSM. So it doesn't necessarily mean that he will use those names, but he is trademarking them, which is smart. People do need to be trademarking. And I saw when I was writing the article about it the other day, I saw that the lawyer that he used was the guy who's known as the gimmick lawyer, and he helps, or the gimmick attorney, and he helps pro wrestlers trademark gimmicks, names, things like that. So it's very smart, and I think a lot of people should be trademarking their stuff. Curryhead said, I like the Swerve and the former New Day are going on to be on the same team, or the looks of it, but I want to know what their Motor City is going to do it all in. Yeah, of course I want to know what's happening there as well. They do apparently, it looks like potentially doing something with the swirl, because last night I saw a tweet. Blake Christian had written on his hand that the swirl is greater than Motor City. And I mean, I guess it's a good thing to be confident in yourself, but you don't have to just outright lie like that. But yeah, so Blake quote tweeted it and said, and don't you forget it, or something like that. So it seems like they were teasing a little something there. They obviously, on the first night that they were on Collision in Detroit, they did the run in to help out. They had they ran off the dogs, but then they kind of had the stare down with the guns. So there seems to be kind of teasing some things like that. I don't know why they haven't been on TV in the last 2 weeks. So hopefully they will be on this week's shows and be building up to whatever they're going to be doing, because you can't not have Motor City on the biggest card of the year. You gotta, to bring them, I know they wanted the hometown pop, but then if you're not going to do anything with them at the biggest show of the year, that's kind of, I don't know what we're doing there. But I know there's also a lot going on, obviously, So they're kind of laying the groundwork for some things. Perhaps they do wait till All Out to kind of really give them something, but I would like to see them be on. I'd like to see them be on All In. I hope they don't have to wait. Sorry, Miley was in here and she wants down. No, Curry Head. Listen, I'm not gonna fall for it. Brad says Motor City could be waiting for post All In when the news stories take shape. A possible tag team gauntlet out of All Out seems to be the word. They have heavily hinted at maybe doing some kind of a tag team cup type thing. And then isn't World Tag League in like October or November this year? Because I know prior for them to sorry. Sorry, Miley's being loud. But because I think the World Tag League prior what I was thinking was prior to them officially being All Elite, a couple of I can't remember now which team it was. Somebody in New Japan asked if they would be available for the World Tag League, and I feel like they said something about October. So perhaps there's something going on there. I don't know if Tony would let them leave that soon and go do a tournament. Hang on one second. I'm going to let Miley out. Give me just a second. Oh, what a show this has turned out to be. But yeah, so Brad says that Junior Tag League is up next. He'd bring in Garcia and Yuta and Busta and the Brain, and then World Tag League is after that. Okay, so that's the timeline. Because is it World Tag League typically November, December? So I guess it wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility, but it definitely seems like because Yuta has been doing stuff in New Japan recently, and because of Death Rider stuff, I could definitely see Garcia and Yuta coming. I would love to see Buster and the Brain in New Japan. That would be some incredible stuff there. That's a good question. Crash says the swirl for World Tag League. He could see that they're a solid team and would be a cool dynamic for the tournament matches. They are a really solid tag team. They work really well together, and you could see that a lot in some of the stuff that they've been doing away from Jay Lethal. That they are a really solid tag team for sure. So that is definitely possible. Brad says, okay, yeah, so it is right before Wrestle Kingdom. A couple years ago, they ran both tag leagues at the same time. Okay, maybe that's what I'm thinking. Was okay. So thank you for that clarification. And I am going to turn off my camera one more time, but I am going to come back with a surprise. So hang on just 1 second. All right, surprise is not quite ready yet. Just kidding. Sorry about this. This show, I'm sorry. It's been a little bit of a clusterfuck today. So, yes, long time no see. Hello, Colin. I'm glad that somebody is enjoying this because I am doing my best. But yeah, the show's been a lot of surprises, but we have somebody coming. Let's see. Crash said, absolutely, Sorrel been working really hard and how they've been putting their matches as a high bar with the Bucks, the Rascals, the Death Riders, and everyone close. Yeah, it's nice. It's good to see some of the younger teams. And like I saw, obviously, there was a tweet like a week or so ago of people talking about how good the Guns are, but the Guns have been good for a while. And I think obviously because there is so much talent, in that in tag team wrestling and AEW in general, but even just in that group, like they're in a group with Jay White and Juice Robinson and Ace Austin. And so I think sometimes the Guns get overlooked, but they've been really incredible too. And I think the Swirl has been. And so it's nice. It's really good to see some of these younger teams like really having, a good time or doing better, rather, I should say. So I'm hoping that we get and doing a tournament like that would probably be really good for the Swirl to get them exposed to other types of teams. I think would be really good for them. So I actually kind of like the idea of the Swirl being, and I do really like the idea of Bustin' Their Brain because I love them and I want them to they're down in ROH and they've been doing some stuff there, but I'd love to see them get a spot at that. Well, Colin, I am sorry to hear that you've had such a rotten time, but it is nice to see you. Mel is not here today because she has some IRL stuff going on. I did have Keila Cash here momentarily, but apparently it was a combination of Curry Head, QT Marshall, and Danhausen cursed her internet. And so we lost her minutes into the show. And so we're definitely just winging it and doing the best we can. And I appreciate you guys being here and enjoying this ride with me today. Employee of the month, Stephanie Shipley. Good job. Good job. Halfway through the month and she's coming through. So I saw your question, Jermaine. I am going to circle back to that shortly. So I will come back to that question because that is definitely something I want to talk about. But yeah, All In definitely has some interesting things happening. And so let's see here. All right. You know what? We'll go ahead and talk about you know what? We can just go ahead and talk about the women. I was going to save it, but why not? The show is just going. We're just winging it as it is today. So Jermaine says, I wonder if this year All In that we get a four women's matches because I just don't see any of the 4 women fighting for the TBS title this Wednesday being left off the card. When I first saw that announcement, my concern was because AEW likes to do title changes during women's 4-ways. And I don't know that obviously Maya was not the plan to win the TBS title. They kind of went with how things were going, how the fans were responding to her. And I really enjoy her as the TBS champion. But my concern is that she's going to drop the title on Wednesday and that they're using this as a catalyst to make a different match for All In because Maya was not supposed to be the champion. Or it's either that or the card is so stacked that they don't have room for the TBS championship. You would think that if that were the case, they would leave it to the week before the show or the week of the show, rather, like on the go home shows that they would do a title change. But I don't have a good feeling about what's going to happen on Wednesday. And if you watched last week's show, I believe it was LaRon who mentioned that he thought they were headed towards a 4-way with the women that are in this match because it's Maya versus Sheeta versus Stat versus Persephone. And he thought that was going to be the All In match, which would make sense. But now that we're getting it on TV, definitely makes me concerned that Maya is not coming out of that match with the title and that they're going to put it on somebody else. And I think Laurent's idea when we talked about the possibility of it being at All In was that it was going to be Persephone winning. And so I would not be surprised if Persephone wins on Wednesday and then they have Persephone facing someone for the TBS title at All In. They also have the feud that they're building with between her and Thunder Rosa. We saw some of that at Grand Slam Mexico because they both Thunder Rosa and Persephone have CMLL titles. Then we had the tag match this week where Persephone and Thunder Rosa were on opposite sides. So it definitely feels like we're building a feud there. Could she potentially be the one that faces Persephone for the TBS championship at All In? Maybe that's what they're building to, or perhaps that's the feud that they're building. Maybe we do Persephone versus Shida and then get to continue to build the stuff with Thunder Rosa and then maybe do that at All Out potentially. But I don't have a good feeling about it for Maya. I think that I have a feeling that she's going to lose. Let's see. So Fernando says that he agrees with about the title change, I believe. Brad says he could see Maya and Shida being added to All In or Shida versus Persephone after a title change. Fernando says the match could have been part of the buy-in. I kind of thought that's where they were going with it, but that doesn't seem to be the case now. It seems like Maya is not going into All In as champion if they're going to use her at all. So I'm really not sure. Crash said he thinks so too regarding Maya, considering all the chatter. Wouldn't be surprised to see Persephone win it. She's definitely talented enough to run with and elevate the TBS title. And there's also rumors that Persephone, obviously, because there were rumors a few months ago that when her contract is up, like WWE was probably going to make a play for her, and that's what they do with all the really good women's talent in other places. So I definitely do see them trying to make it a play at her. And so if you want to better your chances of Persephone staying with you, because she is dual contracted, I don't know how long her contract is with AEW, because she did have a dual contract, but then there was a rumor a few months ago that her deal was up in September. I don't know how accurate that is. But if you want Persephone to stay, then putting a title on her is a really good way to do that. I mean, I know there was, I'm sure there's maybe some concern because of what happened with Mariah May, but maybe they're a little hesitant. But I think that if you're going to put the title on her, you need to do it like soon. And hopefully Persephone takes a look at what's happening in the other company with women and thinks real hard about that. Crash says, I do think it was the right call to give Maya the title, though, too. It was the right call at the time. Yeah, I still thought the plan was Maya taking the title off of Athena. I thought that was the story we were telling. It made the most sense for ROH, for Maya, for Athena. I'm not mad that Maya won the title, but if she's going to lose it on a Dynamite, in a 4-way right before your biggest pay-per-view of the year, then maybe you should have kept it on Shida and just continued doing the story. Like, I don't think Maya being a transitional champion is a bad thing, considering how young she is and how she's introducing herself still to the AEW fan base. And so I go kind of back and forth with it. I don't think it was necessarily a wrong call to give her the title, but on the other hand, like, if the plan all along was Shida versus whoever for the TBS title, then maybe you should have just done that or something like that and then saved Maya versus Athena. But now this Friday is Death Before Dishonor, and you've got Athena defending the title against Hazuki, which is going to be a phenomenal match. And I wouldn't be mad if Hazuki ended up being the one to take the title off of Athena. She would be, because Hazuki was saying, obviously, if she wins, she would be the first Japanese woman to win an ROH title, which would be very cool. They seem to really like Hazuki. I don't think that that's necessarily where they're going. I think we're just getting a banger match, but I don't know if we're getting this banger match because they decided to put the title on Maya, and so now we're pushing off Maya versus Athena, and maybe we're going to get to that at Final Battle, or do it on an AEW pay-per-view somewhere in between there. Let's see. Right. Yep. And so Crash was talking about the Persephone and Thunder Rosa angle that's been playing out since they both have the CMLL titles. They are still using Shida. Shida's definitely heavily involved in the TBS title picture. She's undergone a really big character change, which has been a lot of fun. Curry has said, what's happened to all the women's talent WWE has acquired in the last 2 to 3 years, and they become in limbo status. Don't do it, Persephone. Absolutely. And we're going to talk about some of that. I know we covered it a little bit. That had been one of the conversations I had planned to have with Keila as someone who watches the WWE. And we did talk about it a little bit last week, but I'll touch on it some. Yeah. Mariah May is finally getting her first match on SmackDown this coming Friday. They did it in a backstage segment, which we'll go into the conversation I want to have about that. But yeah, so Brad says the other day Hyann posted that now it's her turn and she loves being a heel, so it made me wonder if she's going to turn on Maya. I could see that happening. Maybe that's the feud that they do for a little bit until they get to Athena versus Maya, if that's still the route they're going. So you could kind of have that little story to tell at the same time. Yeah. WWE just got La Catalina and then Stephanie Vacker before that. Would love Persephone to get a proper run out of AEW. Timing in to build All In, I think, would be a skewed build for others in the women's division. Because I think I think in this case with Maya, assuming they're doing a title change here, I think it's because they're trying to get back to whatever the original match was going to be. And I think the trios title, I think, is definitely because it's setting up Swerve, Kofi, and Xavier or Austin Creed. I think is what that's setting up, and they're probably going to win the titles. So I think that is probably why they're doing that title change there. But yeah, I think if we're doing the Maya title change, I don't know why they wouldn't just do it the week of. But I guess they're wanting Persephone, I guess, to have a little bit of a build before whatever the all-in match is going to be. Crash says, word on the street is AI Antonio Inoki Cyborg has his eye on taking the ROH's women's title from Athena and Death Before Dishonor in 2050. Let's see. Jermaine says, now because of the pivot, do they have Athena drop her title at Death Before Dishonor? They could. That's because the build for the match there has been just a kind of a routine. Like, it's going to be a really great match. And if Hazuki wins, I don't think it's a bad thing, but it's not going to be the story that it would have been had it been Maya or even Billy. But because of whatever they've got going on, perhaps they do have Athena drop the title to Hazuki. I mean, Hazuki is fantastic, and apparently she's not being used well in Stardom. And depending on if Stardom's going to let her, kind of be over here for a while, then maybe it's not a bad thing. But then you really are going to have a plan in place for Hazuki. Like, you can't just be like, here's the title so we can get it off of Athena and then do nothing. Like, you've got to build up Hazuki too. So it's really hard to say where they're going. I would say Athena retains here. And then maybe they'll build another story, but I wouldn't be mad at Hazuki winning. I just feel like with the way her storyline has gone, or her title run, rather, I should say, I would say just let her win it here and build up a story that makes sense for Final Battle, and let her do that. Unless they have plans for Athena in AEW, because again, which the conversation we've had many times, we don't know exactly how long Toni Storm will be out of the picture. We've heard, the last I heard was well into 2027. We don't know what that means. Does it mean first quarter? Does it mean 6 months? Does it mean late next year? So if they are going to need a heavy hitter, then Athena would be a good choice to bring up if you're actually, going to book her and stuff like that. So it kind of just, I think it kind of depends on what Tony's plans are for the women's division. With that, no, they really did not have a plan for Blake. They did sign her. They did the same thing they did to Stephanie Vacker. This has been your dream your whole life. Now your dream can be fulfilled. And then they promised her all of these things, and then they gave it to her, or they convinced her to come. And then, she was champion at NXT for a little bit, and then she lost the title on a fluke, and then she complained about it, rightfully so. And then they punished her, and then they've been wasting her since her debut when she attacked Julia in London, and then they haven't done anything with her for weeks. So yeah. Jermaine says, I'm starting to think that the feud between Mercedes and Willow, the title is going to change hands between the two of them multiple times, I think is the plan. Brad says, seems like they're using more ROH talent on AEW TV. Athena and the Minions, STP, Lethal Swirl, all seems like ROH has a more concentrated roster now, which is awesome to see. Yeah, absolutely. I agree, and I love to see it, especially with Shane Taylor Promotions. We've been talking about them for a really long time, and so it's nice to see. And even you have, we've talked about Gates of Agony, who were a tag team for a while, or for a long time at ROH, and then have made the move over to the main roster and are with Ricochet, and they're doing really well. And so I like to see how well the ROH talent is doing. And then technically, Eddie has been in ROH for a while now. He's in this tournament, which we'll talk about, the Continental Cup as well. It is nice to see. So, and that kind of brings me back to the thing about Athena and Maya. Now people are familiar enough with Maya, they've done a little bit with Billy on AEW television, but not, obviously the fans don't know her in the way that they have grown to know Maya. And so if they did want to have Maya take the title off of Athena, and they wanted to do it before Final Battle, I personally don't really care for ROH title matches on AEW pay-per-views, but I could see this being one where they do it because the fans are familiar with both. But that would also be a really good way to sell subscriptions to Honor Club and or My AEW by doing Athena versus Maya at Final Battle, your final pay-per-view of the year, and then have Maya win there. So you could do that too. Okay. I think my surprise is ready for real. So we're gonna try it again. I'll be RB. All right, we're back, and I have a guest. Hi. Nikki has come to help me out a little bit since Keila had to disappear, and I've been trying to man this by myself.
She was trying to get me in, and I was like, girl, I ain't got makeup on yet. You gonna have to wait a minute. I was like, I gotta throw something on so I don't look like garbage.
So yeah, we're just gonna keep rolling with this show, and it's been This has been a show, so thank you for being patient. I really appreciate that. Let's see. Yeah. Curry had him the same way. I respect you wanting to get your money and your dreams, but all money ain't good money, and sometimes your dreams could be a nightmare. Is what I'm saying. Yeah, I'm right there with you. I mean, you could even look at what happened with Jeff Cobb. He's also another example of that. But that's definitely been WWE's playbook lately, to get people to come from WWE. Is, oh, this is your childhood dream, and they sell them on that, and they hit them in the feels, and they play on their emotions, and then well,
let me tell you, people's dreams can change,
right? And even Hangman has said that. He was like, dreams change. He was like, AEW didn't exist, and now they do, and this is my dream, is to win the title here and to be here and things like that. So definitely things can change. Curry has said, I think it's finally good to see ROH has become more stable with their roster, and they can use their roster as a triple roster for AEW. Yeah. Yes, Nikki Shipley in the house. Curry had said, at least we got Nikki, and I like Nikki.
Well, I appreciate that. I like y'all too.
Yes, I'm so glad that he is back in New Japan too. He's right where he's meant to be. He should have never left, but again, as Keila said before, the internet rudely cut her off.
It was secretly me, just so I could come in.
I'll have to tell Keila that's what it was.
Actually, don't, because I love Keila, and she will verbally take me down for that.
Yeah, we've heard what happens when she talks about QT. So
right, exactly.
And it's so funny because we actually were going to talk about QT today, because we were making jokes about the show is so it was announced this week that One Fall Wrestling, which is the QT's wrestling promotion, will be having a show the same day as Rebel Heart Dynamite. And so I jokingly sent a message to Keila and and Mel, and said that QT had to get a payday even on a charity show. And I was here for Keila to do a takedown of that. Maybe we can get her.
I'm not even going to try. hers are legendary. I'm not even going to try.
So maybe when we get Keila back for the All-In pre show, we can have her give her thoughts on that. But as much as we tease QT about that, it is really cool that they have been really involved. So the press release they put out, I ended up writing about that they've been raising funds and donations for I think it's IamALS.org, and also the Steve Gleason Foundation, that they've been raising money for them as well. And they were I think they're raising money until like September the 4th. And then people who donate have a chance to win one of 3 sets of tickets to the Rebel Heart Dynamite show, which is really cool. And then so they're filming One Fall Wrestling before and after the show. And so there's a lot of stuff there. So that's really cool that they're doing that. I just also we wanted to get our jokes in about QT. But the internet, which is why I said that, QT had enough. And so he took Keila's internet for him so that he could not be roasted.
He couldn't handle it anymore.
Curry had, maybe you'll get QT Marshall and FTR in a tag team on the One Fall Wrestling show, because I just know, I'm telling them, I said, I just know QT and Aaron Solo are going to have a tag match on that show so that he gets a payday. Yes, 2 shows, one FW book ending both Dynamite and Collision that night, right? Yes, and so Keila would be in her element. I wonder if Keila, how far, that might be far from her, though, because I believe she's in Atlanta and that show's in Athens, but maybe she doesn't want to try to go all that way.
She'll have to film herself cutting promos the whole match.
Yeah, oh my God, yes. Let's see here. So, I'm going to talk about the Continental Cup really quick. So with the Continental Cup, we had the final round, the final first round matches last night. We had Nigel McGuinness win Hechicero and Kyle O'Reilly, which I wasn't sure. That was the one I kind of wasn't sure where they were going with that, because Kyle O'Reilly has been the one who has had probably the most likely chance of beating Jon Moxley for that title. And so I didn't know. I was like, are they going to give him maybe another opportunity, or were they going to see if maybe Roddy could get the job done? But then Nikki made a really good point that Kyle was held out of the C2, so maybe this is kind of like a not a consolation prize, but I guess technically a consolation prize. They're like, you missed the C2, we kept you out of that, but we'll put you in the C3 instead. So they did do that, and then they had kind of an interesting little thing after the match. Roddy got mad and shoved Kyle, and then immediately helped him up, like, I'm sorry, I'm just mad, and they hugged. And then Orange, because they were talking about before the match that Orange Cassidy could potentially end up facing whoever won that match in the tournament. Monday, we're supposed to get another blind draw, is what they're calling it. Just that blind draw just happened to have Jay White wrestle David Finlay, and just happened to have Nigel wrestle Shibata. But they are doing a YouTube special tomorrow night, so that we know who is going to who's going to be in the quarterfinals. And so the 8 people who are moving on are Claudio Castagnoli, Orange Cassidy, Eddie Kingston, Jay White, Jon Moxley, Hechicero, and Kyle O'Reilly. And Nigel McGuinness did win his match last night. He did beat Shibata. However, so Collision was pre-taped on Wednesday. And they mentioned on commentary during the main event that Nigel was injured in his match. We don't know the extent of the injury or anything like that. So there's a possibility that Nigel is out of the cup. And so Nikki and I were talking about it last night. We're like, well, how do you determine who replaces him? Do you have the 4 men who lost their matches? Do you have them in a match? And then whoever wins that takes Nigel's place? Do you do it that way? So that'll be kind of interesting to see how they do that. But then the other thing with Nigel is supposed to wrestle Lee Moriarty for the pure title on Friday at Death Before Dishonor. So, and the stipulation was if he can't beat Lee Moriarty, then not only does he doesn't win the pure championship, but he says he will never wrestle in ROH again, which we kind of wondered after Nigel put his name in the hat to be in the C3. He loses, can't wrestle in ROH anymore, but now he can wrestle in AEW for a little bit. They could potentially do that, but now that seems to be completely, that'll be out of the way. And I don't think that Nigel's we talked about, 3 possibilities who could potentially win. And we did cases for Nigel winning, for Eddie winning, and for Jay White. I think the consensus was we all want Jay White to win. And so so I don't know what the plan will be. If Nigel's not only out of the E3, then he also will not have his match with Lee Moriarty. At least, maybe they put that off until he's healthy again. But then I don't know what they're going to do for Lee, because Lee's supposed to be defending that title. So tomorrow, when we find out about Nigel, that could have some major implications for Friday as well, besides that. So I hope that whatever it is with Nigel, even if they do take him out of the tournament, I hope it's nothing serious and that he can recover, quickly and can get back in to it.
Yeah, that bummed me out a lot. But I did say, I was like, just put Ace Austin in it.
Yeah. Ace did impress from the article that I wrote the other day. Apparently Ace really impressed people backstage with his match against Claudio.
Because he's awesome.
Yes.
But we've known that for years, because we used to see him at PWX.
Yeah, so
even in his early days, he was great.
Yeah, so I'm glad that the AEW is starting to take notice of him, because every time they put him, especially in a singles match, he definitely stands out. So I would not be mad if Ace Austin happens, if they do a 4-way and then Ace Austin is the winner with that. So Brad said, he said, hey, I did the blind draw and stuff and just to see what matches I could get. And it took me about 35 times to get Finley, Jay versus Finley. But what I'm saying is it can happen if you try hard enough. maybe that's what Tony did. It took him. Well, I wonder if it took him 35 times. Yeah. Yeah, Crash said he forgot about the Lee match. Bummer. Sounds like they were waiting to see the extent of his injury for now. Shibata roughhousing pretty hard. LMAO. Yeah, they were. Well, and even like in the early going of the match, I think it was Paul White was like, Shibata is out wrestling Nigel. And I was like,
I mean, you don't expect anything less from Shibata,
no.
really, but
Nigel was like, we're going to do this because, especially because like this match wasn't supposed to be like, somebody said last night, if you said this match was going to happen in 2018, nobody would have believed you. and then you have, but you know, Shibata does the time. He does wrestle fairly consistently and obviously on a, so, you know, that it's unfortunate to see. Crash says, Nikki, that's an excellent idea regarding Ace Austin, Nikki, for the AEW booking team.
I mean, he may drive me crazy, but I'll do it so I can get what I want on there.
Maybe just say that you're Nikki Shipley. Don't use our. Yeah. Sorry about that. For some reason, Theory keeps cutting on. It has cut on 3 times in a row, and I don't know.
Girl, we ain't talking to you.
I don't know if saying Shibata is what did it, or I don't know. It came up 3 times in a row, so I think that might be why my mic is cutting out, but hopefully it stops. And can you guys hear, because obviously Nikki doesn't have headphones in, hopefully you can hear her clearly as well. And again, thank you for helping us wing it today, because
Thank you for waiting for me to put my makeup on.
Because today has been a journey for sure. This is probably the strangest show that we've ever had.
It's okay. Mel would be so supportive and talking about all the positives.
This is true. We're gonna hashtag tweet the positives here. So yeah. So by the time we come back next week, we will have. Well, I guess we'll be because it says we'll compete. They'll compete in 4 blind draw matches. So I assume the plan is 2 Wednesday and 2. Well, on. I don't know what the hell's going on with Theory. I don't know what word is triggering her. That's not her name. But Tuesday, or I'm sorry, I would think they would have 2 on Dynamite and then 2 on Collision. But now that Nigel is hurt, they're probably gonna have to, if they're doing a 4-way. I mean, maybe they're just gonna make some rule where they pick a replacement for him and they don't do a match. I don't know how they're going to get around this, but you would assume 2 matches on Dynamite, 2 matches on Collision, and then we would know, we'd have a better idea of where that's headed. But you know, I guess we'll find out tomorrow, some more information. And so by the time we get here next Sunday, we'll have a better idea. Well, we'll have had the matches then, most likely. Okay. Yeah, apparently now Theory is trying to fight me. I always have mic issues. Like in the first, if you watched our show way back in the beginning, when we were like in the first year or so of this show, my microphone was on a stand and it would constantly try to fight me. It would fall all the time. And Mel wanted to suggest me and my mic for Wrestling Observer's Feud of the Year. And so then it got to the point where I actually had to just hold my microphone.
She looked like like she was doing a host of a like telethon event.
I did. And then I had to tape the button down. It was a whole thing, and then finally I just gave up and just went with the headphones only.
I think Theory wants to put in her own thoughts on this cup match, and it should be in it.
Apparently, so Brad knows. Brad's been here since day one. He knows about that. Mike, apparently, we're starting a new feud but this time it's with Siri on my laptop. Yes, Crash says that this is indie Powerbombshells running on a tight budget here and a mass increase to the roster. It is very much. Hey, but we love indie wrestling here, so we're gonna make it work. And thankfully,
we've been to some shows in the past that have struggled way worse. So
yes,
we get it.
I was gonna say, and thankfully, a lot of you are indie wrestling fans, so you get it. So I was gonna say, I was gonna feel like it was gonna be either Nigel versus Jay White in the semifinals, with Nigel beating Moxley in England. I mean, that certainly could be. That was one of the theories that we threw out, was that that it was gonna be. Wait a minute. Okay. Sorry about again these indie things. Apparently, I hit my microphone and I don't know what's happening. Hopefully, you guys can still hear me. Okay. But yeah, that was one of the possibilities we threw out, was that it was going to be Nigel versus Moxley, because you have it in England. It would make a ton of sense. It would be another feel-good story, because obviously we already have Will Ospreay is going to win the title there. The Brawling Birds are going to win the titles there. You could have Nigel, also win it there. That's certainly a possibility. And then, of course, there was my theory about Eddie Kingston, who has long been a theory of mine. But now I think it's going to be Jay White, and I hope it's Jay White.
I need it to be Jay White.
We do. That's yeah. Suspend the microphone from the ceiling.
Like you're Ken Anderson.
Not Ken Anderson. But I know Ken Anderson's who I thought of too.
I know. But when I read that, I thought of Ken Anderson.
That's what I thought too. Just have a mic swing. I actually don't have it swing in, because Milo, the way I have with my trying to feud with me, it would hit me in the face. So. Or maybe I would be sporting the look that John Moxley has with his teeth that he's just never going to fix, apparently. Which, you know what, he shouldn't. It fits John Moxley so well that he should just leave it forever. It's great. Let's see here. So I think that was like the major AEW stuff. And then we have some things filling out for All In. We are getting, I believe we did finally make it official with Darby and Kevin Knight, which I'm not thrilled about. It should be, I am with a majority, not a majority, a lot of people I have seen think that match should be Speedball versus Kevin Knight, and I agree that should be the match. I need Darby away from this title. However, I would not be surprised if Darby wins the damn title because they have nothing else for him to do. And especially because they've been building up how Kevin has had, the best TNT title reign because of the number of wins he's had. And then to have Darby win it from him, I mean, it makes sense, but I don't like it. And they would just find something else for him to do, please. And then give something to give Speedball a title to. Let's see, I was trying to think. So we'll get more, obviously, into the all-in matches when we do the pre-show that hopefully Keila will be back for, and Keila will be able to give us her takes and give us some takes about QT as well.
We need it.
The world needs it. QT, you may have stopped us today, but you will not stop us every time. If we have to, we'll have Keila tape a promo.
Yeah, I was going to say, tell her to write something down and I'll read it. I was like, I couldn't even read it in the correct way.
Nobody can.
Right.
Only Keila can deliver those.
Yes.
Tony who? Because Tony Khan does not have children. And are you talking about Tony Schiavone? And if so, I do not know. I have not heard that. I know that he just got married, but I don't know who she is. But I don't know about that. Yeah, that would be the first time I'm hearing that, if that is if that is true. Let's see here. It is Nikki. Thank you, LaRon, for being here. So, LaRon, so Mel is doing in real life things. So we did have Keila here as a co-host for like maybe 10 or 15 minutes, and then for her internet and her power went out. And so it was just me winging it for a bit. And then Nikki scarfed down some food, threw on some
makeup. I had 2 pieces of bacon and that was it.
And she threw on some makeup so she could come help me out, because as Crash said, this is the indie version of Powerbombshells. This is the power of live streaming. You never know what's going to happen. So we're glad that you're here with us, LaRon. And LaRon, since you're here, we did have this discussion, but because you were the one who brought it up last week, we talked about, and you had mentioned the 4-way match that we're getting on Dynamite you thought was going to happen at All In. Do you think we're doing this match on Dynamite because there's not going to be a TBS title at All In, or is it because Tony loves to have titles change hands in 4-way women's matches? And do you think Maya is dropping the title and they're going to do a new match at All In for maybe whatever the original plan was, or they're going to put the title on for Stephanie, I think is what we had all discussed. So I'd like to have your thoughts on that since you brought it up last week. And I know our thing is a bit on a delay, so it may take LaRon a few minutes to answer that question. But I know there's been some discussion in the chat about Mercedes and Willow. And I haven't seen all of it because obviously things going on. And I appreciate you talking amongst yourselves as well. But after Mercedes, like I said it last week too, when she was like, I'm going to make you lose your smile. I was like, this kind of feels like Willow's going to retain. And then after the beat, she attacked Willow before Dynamite when she was doing the interview with Renee. Then you have Willow come out. Last night, she had the match with Zeta, and I thought Zeta looked pretty good last night. And she forced Zeta to smile even after she tapped. Then you have Willow come out here. So I feel like that to me, it feels even more like Willow was retaining, that Mercedes is not going to, she's really letting Willow get to her. Cause now she's like, we've had the discussion about how she talked about how, she's always there whenever Mercedes has something going on. And then Willow's on the other side. And now she's focused on making her lose her smile. And I think that's just going to endear Willow even more. And I feel like Mercedes is going to lose, and maybe we really are going to get her crash out finally. I mean, maybe it's just wishful thinking because I want it so much. But it kind of seems like that's what we're going to do here. Curryhead says we're going to get a mic we're going to get you a mic, everybody in here. We're going to take up a collection and get Sam a mic because I'm about to beat the heck out of that mic. Welcome to me, the first year of this show. And I actually still have that mic. It's right here on my bookshelf. It's been retired. It hasn't been out of its box in probably 2 or 3 years now. And so I'm sorry for all the technical stuff. I don't know what's making it cut out. I'm just using the mic on my laptop. So again, apologies. Thank you for sticking with us. And I'm sorry that it's getting to that point where it's really frustrating because it used to frustrate the shit out of me. So I apologize that it's just not cooperating. So LaRon has weighed in. He said he hopes that Persephone wins the TBS title and we get a one-on-one title match with Chris and Persephone. Oh, so you think it might be, well, I guess that would make sense instead of doing, because if we fuss about a heel versus a heel, I thought maybe they would do Persephone versus Sheeta, but Chris makes sense too. And then maybe she gets to Sheeta later. I am with you there that I think that if we are doing a title change, that Persephone needs to be the one, especially, I mean, she should be the one anyway, because Persephone is great, but also we were talking about the fact that WWE is circling, and if her contract really is up in September, as the rumor has it, then they need to do whatever. I understand, obviously, there's probably some hesitation because of what happened with Mariah May. But I would try to do whatever you can to get Persephone to stay. And again, we pointed to Persephone also needs to look at what's happening with the WWE women's division before she makes a choice. LaRon says, Tekla needs something to do, so I hope there's a casino gauntlet match for the women. Yeah, I wondered, though, if they were how they're going to bring Tekla back into this, because Tekla has been such a big part of the women's division this year that it would be hard to not have her on the biggest show of the year when she has carried that women's division so much. So that definitely, I would like to see her on the card somehow, somewhere. LaRon says, after last night, I've come around to the idea of Mercedes is losing, especially since Willow hasn't had any title defenses since winning at Redemption. Yeah, I'm with you, LeBron. And that is true. She hasn't defended her title at all since then. I wouldn't be surprised if they throw in one to get her, like to have her get a title defense in before All In. But even if she does, I don't think that she's losing there. Let's see. If Lauren says if Mercedes loses at All In again, where does she and Willow go from here? That's the only part I'm not sure about. Yeah, that's definitely something I have gone back and forth with too, Lauren, about like how they do this, because and we've talked about this several times. Like, what do you do with Willow? Do you have her be a transitional champion after it took her so long to get here? But then can you afford to have Mercedes lose? Here again, are they waiting for Toni Storm to do that feud again? Are they like, but obviously at this point, you'd have to get the title back onto Toni. And so there's a whole thing with that. And so, yeah, but the way they've been building it, the build to me feels like Willow was retaining. And then Mercedes gets her crash out. And then I don't know where you go from there to where her and Willow go from there. I mean, I feel like they're kind of like Swerve and Hangman, where you've gotta, like, you let them fight a little bit and then you keep them apart for a while and then, bring it back around, which you can definitely do with those two. Lauren says Persephone would be crazy to go to WWE after seeing how Jordan Grace and the others have been booked. Oh yeah, we're going to talk about some of that. And again, Keila would have been the perfect person to talk to about that. But then the internet QT decided he didn't want to. He didn't want to have any promos cut on him today, so he squashed that. Crash said, case in point, we're having Will and I think that was supposed to be a Will and Kenny promo with Renee next week. Seems a little overkill with these set piece promos and interviews, force fueling the feud so far. Yeah, they've made some interesting decisions about this so far. But Brian Alvarez actually made a really good point about why Kenny wasn't in Mexico. He said it's probably because of his diverticulitis. Because every time they go to AEW, somebody gets sick, whether it's even though they're eating at nice restaurants or eating at a hotel and trying to be as safe as possible. That's probably because Kenny nearly died. He probably doesn't want to do anything to risk that. So then, of course, they play it into this feud of Will saying you're sitting home on your couch, which I know what Will's doing. And, he gave the story talking about his granddad and how he was crying in the toilet. And now his granddad would be like, go out and do some flips. And so I appreciated that story, but I really just think it's because it's Kenny Omega. I am just not connecting. And then there's the other stuff with Will from earlier this year. And I'm just not connecting with him. I know he's going to win, and I'm sure he's going to be a great champion. He's going to have great matches, but
it'll be a great moment. But
yeah, it'll be, he'll get his moment. It'll be nice. The fans are going to love it. It'll be something. And like I said, he's going to deliver great matches. Like, I have no doubt about that. I just really want Kenny Omega to win. I know it's not happening, but the longer this goes and the more they build this, the more I just want Kenny to win, because Kenny's just that good.
And we love him.
We do. Curryhead said, don't get me wrong, I love it, and this is indeed terrific. Well, I'm glad, but also I know how frustrating it is to be trying to listen to something and something is cutting out, and so I don't know what's happening. It's not on my end. It appears everything is going well, so I don't know how to fix it, so I apologize. Let's see. So Curryhead says, question, how long for Stephanie has been in the business, because Mariah May was in the business for a while and her goal was to WWE. I can't remember how long Stephanie has been wrestling, but I know when she grew up in Chile, WWE was available there, and so she grew up watching it. And even though there wasn't a lot of places for her to train there, she still did check it. If I remember correctly, she was like one of the only women. Then they had Liv Morgan cut that super racist promo about it. So, so from my understanding too, Stephanie had also, that was her dream, and because her family can, in their country, they can, I don't know if AEW is not available there now, but I know that WWE is available there, so her family can watch her wrestle. So I think that was part of the pitch to get her to come was, and if I'm not mistaken, I think they did it with Stephanie. I know they did it with Mariah. Mariah took a pay cut to go to WWE. if I'm not mistaken, Stephanie also took a pay cut to go to WWE. And so that's what they're doing. They're getting them in. They're playing on their emotions of this has been your lifelong dream. Your family can watch you wrestle even though you're here in America. And so they're really playing that up for them. And it's worked so far. But Persephone is from El Paso. And of course, I'm sure she grew up watching WWE, but I don't know that that's if they could use that same playbook on her as they could with Mariah and Stephanie. I guess it just depends on, of course, it just depends on what they're looking for and what they want as well. Let's see. Oh, how long I see here that you said Persephone. That's a good question. I don't know how long. I can't remember how long Persephone has been wrestling. I think just for a few years, I want to say. I've heard it, but for whatever reason, I can't remember off the top of my head. Oh, okay. Laurent says Julia Hart was eliminated in the 5-star earlier today. And Brad says that they could be waiting for the 5-star to end and Julia's back before bringing Tekla back. She could be taking so much needed time to rest injuries and just being banged up. Yeah, I was kind of wondering that too, if they're just giving Tekla some time off to kind of just recuperate a little bit until they're ready for her and ready with I know the 5-star is over, but they still have their titles, and so I don't know what. And those of you who watch Stardom can probably fill me in about like kind of what the schedule looks like. Will they be defending those titles anytime soon? Would they probably defend those titles before they come back to AEW? Brad says for the record, today was the last day of league play for the 5-star, and they're doing their playoffs, which Julia did not make. Let's see here. Fernando says the story between the Brawling Birds and Divine Dominion has been disappointing, especially because this is where we all knew it was going. Like we have known for like since Divine Dominion got those, or even since the titles existed and Brawling Birds became, or I guess I should say since Brawling Birds became a tag team, I think it was pretty obvious, they're going to win the titles whenever they get to Wembley. And so we've all known it, and they've just not done a good job of building the tag team division in general, which was our concern all along and has been. And we had Divine Dominion doing those stupid, the 5-minute matches. They're wrestling tag teams that are not tag teams. And so then we finally get to actual tag teams, and the build's just been kind of, I think it almost feels like it's because it's a given that the Birds are going to win, that they just aren't putting as much into it or something. I don't know what it is, but I wish they would stop. Yeah. The Crush said he loves how Willow and Mercedes are dragging it out on socials. Love Mercedes' reaction to Willow's "fuck you, bitch." And she says, smile anyway. Yeah. And then, Paul White.
Yes.
Oh my God. Paul White is killing me on Collision. He's so funny. He really loves it. It seems like he's really into women's wrestling. And last night when Willow said, I still have my smile, bitch, Paul White was like, yeah, and like he repeated what she said.
He said it so aggressively, but it was so damn funny.
It was great. And so I believe he is really looking forward to that match. And then he also, when Nigel came out, Paul got to his feet, and I didn't realize it till I saw it again later that Tony Schiavone was also standing for him. But Paul was like,
I'm not standing.
Excalibur's like, I'm doing my job, you mark. So Mark says that since the 4-way is going to be on Dynamite, he thinks whoever wins might face Tekla at All In. That's certainly that is something I had thought of as well. That maybe she's like, well, I don't have I don't have the women's title. Maybe I'll come for the TBS title. So I had wondered, if that's how they bring Tekla back as well. I guess it depends on who wins and then what Tekla's, what her plans are. Laurent said, honestly, the women's feud has been much better than the men's, despite the men's feud getting much more TV time. Yeah, the women have been killing it.
You don't say.
Shocking, I know. Who would have ever thought? Fernando says the Kenny and Will build is missing something. Missing the fact that people want Kenny to win. He didn't say it was news. He said that was his opinion, was that he assumed that was what was wrong. And that makes a lot of sense, that he's not going to travel because of his diverticulitis, because I mean,
I get it.
You have to be very careful with what you eat, and so
I can.
So it wasn't. He didn't report it as news. He was saying that his opinion. So I'm sorry if I didn't make that clear. That was his opinion, and I tend to. I think he has a very good point, and it seems highly likely with Kenny's health issues, because you have to be careful with what you eat on a day-to-day basis, let alone traveling to another country. Let's see. Curry Head, which match are you talking about? But the build-up for the match is weird. I'm not sure which one we're talking about, because obviously the way this has come up in the thing. They started out hot with that first segment, and then they went down from there. Let's see. Is Lauren says it just me, or are they trying to do way too much with the men's world title? Feels overbooked like most men's pay-per-view. I can see how some people say that, and I get it to an extent. I mean, I know that there's some, and for the people who are over Jon Moxley, I know it's probably overkill for you, and I get that. But I feel like it's playing, the Jon Moxley stuff, I feel is playing into whatever Will is going to do to win. Is he going to turn into Death Rider Will, which I think is what's going to happen. Kenny is going to be beating him at his own game, beating him so badly that he's going to have to. And I still think he's going to hit him with a hidden blade to the front, because he basically said that.
As soon as he said that, I looked up fantastic. He just told us how he's winning.
Yeah. She beat me to it, because it's literally what I was thinking. So
we often yell over top of each other.
Yeah, so I definitely think that's what's happening there. The Don Callis stuff is weird. What the Don Callis was saying, that, I mean, I get the point, but I don't know why you would have him come out there. But having Don Callis be like, well, I helped Kenny, and we screwed Jon Moxley. So they made sure to point that out, that we screwed Jon Moxley. So Jon Moxley Jon Moxley has been trying to tell Will not to trust Kenny because of what Kenny did to him to win the title. So that's very much still part of the story. And then Don Callis, of course, is telling Will that his fatal mistake is going to be that he left him, and now he's not going to win the title because Don Callis isn't there to help him win. Then you have Will, during a promo segment, you have him say that he's going to go make a phone call to his United Empire boys, and he said he thinks Hanare will be fine. And then Hanare, I saw, quote tweeted him and was like, I always got your back. And then he was like, Callum is the one he worries about, and Callum tweeted and was basically like, I'm not, deal with this yourself. Like, we're not cool. Now I have Jeff Cobb to deal with. I don't have time to deal with you two.
He pulled a sword out on somebody last night. I turned it on to him holding a sword, like pulling a sword out. And I mean, like, so you're doing your own weird ass thing. So, I mean, I don't know what the fuck that was, but
yeah. Let's see. Crash said that makes sense. It doesn't matter. Kenny couldn't make it to Grand Slam. They have loads of time, but it seems underwhelming or forced in how they are using their time and how they have a load of time. Yeah, and then you have Kenny come out and like send off. He sends off Don Callis because they try to attack Will, but then he told Will that he wears his heart on his sleeve and he doesn't think, and he's like, I tried to warn you about Don Callis and you didn't listen. I tried to warn you about Jon Moxley and you didn't listen. I'm done helping you. Like, you're on your own now. So our United Empire is going to be on Dynamite this week, or at least Akira and I think it's Hanare. Hanare? Yeah, the two of them. And unless Hanare is going to turn on him, which is possible. Like, it feels like they're teeing up Will to be murdered by United Empire, but where do you do that? Because I absolutely think, I mean, do you have Will win at Wembley and then immediately have United Empire murder him? Or maybe you do, you wait and do the, like when they do like a championship celebration or something, and do something leading to, well, this the All Out, so for Wrestle Dream. So this could be a Wrestle Dream feud.
Well, what if they turn beforehand so Will goes in not having anybody?
That's possible.
I mean, they may not do that.
Yeah.
But that's what I thought. I was like, I mean, what if everybody turn? I mean, he feels like he's going in alone. Except for he's got Alex. But
right. So That's really interesting. Yeah, okay. So Persephone is only 24. Yeah, I knew she was fairly young. So she may not have the WWE bug that the other women seem to have. Yes, okay, LaRon did confirm that Stephanie took way less money. It worked out for Stephanie a lot better than it's worked out for Mariah. And even when it has worked out for Stephanie, Stephanie's stuff has not necessarily been the greatest either. I mean, it's definitely been a lot more than what Mariah has gotten for sure. Yes, Eddie Guerrero is from El Paso. Okay, Laurent says the 5-star ends the week before All In. Okay, so then you could potentially have Tekla available, but then they have the Artists of Stardom titles, so I don't know when they would defend those. Persephone debuted in 2016 and she's 25. Yeah, I knew she was still fairly young, and she's so good to be that young. Okay, thank you. So Brad says the artist titles usually get defended on the big shows, and once in a while a smaller show, they're not one of the more important titles. So okay, so they could come back to AEW for a little bit with those titles and then go back and defend them, is what it sounds like. The women's tag title build has been disappointing because there are no teams. Ding, ding, ding.
What we said was going to happen.
Yes, Paul is great on commentary. Kenny and Will has had too many people involved. The focus feels on like everybody but them. But I think that's part of the story. To me, it seems like, because I feel like the story is Will going to be the, because he's the baby face. Is he going to listen to Kenny? I mean, I know Kenny's not helping him, but Kenny has been like the angel on his shoulder while Mox has been the devil on his shoulder. Is he going to listen to Kenny's advice? And
he's going to try.
Or is he going to have to resort to Death Rider tactics to win the title, which is what I think is. So I feel, to me, and then Mox is trying to tell him, like, Kenny is like, don't trust Jon Moxley. You can't trust the Death Riders. Look at what they've done. He held the title in a briefcase for 8 months, where Jon Moxley is like, don't trust Kenny. That dude screwed me out of a title. Kenny's not as good as he says he is. You can't trust him either. And so they're both planting seeds of doubt into Will, and it's basically going to come down to just who does Will listen to. They could have done without the Don Callis stuff, or they could have at least, they didn't even have to do a segment of that part. They could have just been like, put that little part on commentary. Right. You could do that too. Okay, so Curry has his men's title match started hot in the first segment, and then it went down. It went downhill. Now the women's feud is the only feud that I got to say it started out hot, and it's getting hotter and hotter. Wow, imagine that. The women. The women.
It's so shocking.
Doing stuff. Crash said, yes, I think Will is turning heel too. I don't get why some are suggesting Kenny is a heel. He's clearly not playing a heel. If they do turn him, they better have a really good angle. I know Kenny didn't turn heel because Kenny explained why he did the one. So I guess people still think he's heel because of the one-winged angel. I mean, I guess maybe the follow-up promo on Dynamite, but that's just how Kenny talks. Like, to me at least, that just sounds like Kenny talking like Kenny, and he explained the one-winged angel and why he hit it, and that's what I said when he did it, and I was like, oh, he will try to considered using a bag on him in the way that the Death Riders did it to Danielson. So, and he was like giving him like, you even considered it, and so he put him down, like, which he should. He should put him for that. Doesn't make it a heel turn. So I am missing the heel turn, apparently. Let's see. Fernando said that if I can get, all right, listen here. I'm trying to get, all right. Yes, Fernando said he's so sick of Don being part of Will and Kenny's story. Like, I get it because of their backgrounds, because he did help both of them. But again, this didn't have to be an on-screen thing. You could just have commentary mention, hey, Kenny was with Don Callis when he won the title. Will was with him for a bit, that he turned on him. Is that going to play into it? Like, just leave it at that. Like, you don't even have to make it a whole segment like they did the other day. So Brad says the Wrestle Kingdom match appears to be Will versus Callum, so the turn has to happen soon to get the story moving. It does, and so that's why I was like, do you do it all in after, like, immediately after he wins the title, have United Empire turn on him, or like Nikki says, does the turn come before All In, and then Will doesn't have anybody on his side, there's nobody he can trust, type of thing, or do you wait and do it like after All In on like a celebration ceremony and then start kicking off like and maybe you do something at All Out. Then you have Wrestle Dream, which tends to have some New Japan wrestlers on it. But you're right, the story does have to get moving. Crash says that they were suggesting that on Collision or Dynamite, Nikki, that Will is Billy no friends. But he hopes he turns that needs something like that. And we do know Tony Khan loves his Hill champions.
He do.
Crash said he's not buying Will against the world, but then again, that is Death Rider's slogan. So one wonders, maybe that is the Hill turn. Could be. Yeah. Let's see here. Brad says, I figured that would be an artist title match that they added to All In while Stardom was with Stardom team, the starting team winning them back to close this chapter of the Teclo Stardom story for now. That could be where they're going with that. Let's see. Kenny gave Will a receipt. Yeah, exactly. So that's why I don't understand why people think she's a heel. I mean, think he's a heel. It doesn't. I can't. I don't get that part. I don't either. Yeah. Okay. So this is a point that Persephone and La Catalina played up their rivalry on social media until Catalina left for AAA. That's when rumors started that Persephone was going to go to WWE, I guess, to continue the feud in AAA, and that's where I've heard. Yeah, and it's what WWE does. They go after. I mean, they did it, Stephanie. They did it with Mariah. They did it with Jordan Grace and TNA. So when a woman wrestler in particular gets hot, they circle, and Persephone would be smart to hear them out and see what they offer and then take that offer back to WWE, as all wrestlers would be smart to do. So they should all be doing that. Okay, so Crash says Brian Alvarez is suggesting he's a heel from what I've heard. Well, that's because Brian just says stuff Brian says things for rage bait and clickbait so that people argue with him. And so Brian is not who I would listen to about that or a lot of things. Fernando says he thinks Kenny's in it. People think Kenny's a heel because he uses a menacing voice to improve. I mean, he does, I guess, kind of have some of his heel tendencies, but maybe that's the point, like to play into the Jon Moxley of it all, where Jon Moxley's like, don't trust this guy. He's not as good as you think he is. He hasn't changed. He's not this good guy. Maybe that's why. Maybe that's a little playing into that a little bit. Curry had so I draw Brian. He draws Brian to feel bad. Again, as I said last week, if it is helping generate money for my friends who write for their website, and Josiah and Paul Fontaine, then I'm all for it if it gets them a payday, but I will not be the one participating in most cases. But sometimes he says some out there stuff. I don't know what she's doing. Moron says that, and I'm sure the person who weighed in can probably tell us this. I know that she was down there, like I remember like seeing stuff when she first got there, but I don't remember seeing any. Again, I don't follow AAA closely, so it could be that I've completely missed it. But as far as I know, she has not won the title yet. But I could be wrong. Maybe she did and I missed it, because again, that's not something I super keep up with. Welcome back. Thank you for, you have missed a lot. My co-host Mel was already scheduled to be away today. She's doing some IRL things. We had Keila Cash, who has been on our show many times. She also is the co-host of The Wrap, which is the WWE show that is currently on hiatus. She was here for about 15 minutes until her internet crapped out. I was by myself for a bit, and then my sister, Nikki, who is often in the chat, she came to help me out so I wouldn't just... I mean, I wasn't really talking to myself, because I was talking to these lovely people who have stayed.
I know. I was like, you're getting a bunch of questions. I might not be needed.
No, I appreciate. This is why I love this chat, and they have. even though I've been having some mic issues.
I even was like, do we ask the chat if they even want me to come through?
Well, I know what the answer is going to be. So today has just been, as it has been dubbed, the indie version of Powerbombshells, because we've just been scrapping by, and we're doing the best we can. But luckily, like I said, we have some lovely people in the chat who have been asking questions and have helped keep the conversation going, which I appreciate anytime, but especially today. So I'm glad that you returned. I know that you found us last week, so thank you for coming back this week. But besides all of that, we have covered the 4-way match that's happening on Dynamite for the TBS title. We've covered again, so we've had some more discussion about Willow and Mercedes. We've talked about the Continental Cup and Nigel's injury and how that may affect not only the Cup, but also the Death Before Dishonor match that is coming up on Friday. We have talked about a little bit of everything. We talked about Athena a little bit because Athena is defending her title against Suzuki. We've talked about when Tekla is coming back. So yeah, we've covered a lot, even with all of the drama.
I mean, you could have just done it by yourself. You're doing a great job.
I appreciate it. No, I'm glad that you're here. Crash says, super producer Nikki, talent agent, AEW booker, working pro bono currently for TK. Hire her, TK.
I mean, that's what the people want.
Okay. So we have an update. Thank you. I figured you would know, so I appreciate that. So La Catalina is a top 3 babyface lady. Flamir is on a run right now with the AAA women's belt. There was a 3-way women's match last week for the title. La Catalina is set up to win the belt, but we shall see. La Catalina is the top babyface in AAA. She's also at the PC right now, hinting at an NXT debut soon. Thank you. I knew somebody would know. This is another reason we appreciate the chat, because I do not have time, unfortunately, to watch everything or to keep up with everything, so I clearly miss things, and I knew somebody would know, just like I knew you would know the Stardom stuff, so thank you for weighing in and letting us know about that. We appreciate that. No, I don't think so. Fernando asked if Sarita Deeb is injured. I think she was obviously having some health issues a while back. She was having the idiopathic seizures. I don't know if she's continued, hopefully not having, hopefully very healthy, and not having any issues. She was supposed to be in that feud with Britt Baker. That blew up, and now neither of them have been on TV. I have heard something about Serena working backstage. I don't know how accurate that is. I did hear a rumor about that, but so as far as I know, she's not injured, but I haven't heard one way or another. But as far as I know, she isn't. Yes, La Catalina was in NXT, and then they released her, and her visa expired the next day, and she was like stuck here trying to get back home or something. It was a big old mess, and she was, before she signed with WWE, like within a few. Because I covered La Catalina's stuff like when all of this was happening, as far as her re-signing with WWE or potentially re-signing. I wrote like 4 articles about it. But she, even prior to signing with WWE, like she was actively, like tweeting, like saying things, disparaging things about WWE. Like it seemed kind of a surprise that she went back. I mean, this is wrestling, and obviously you have to go where the money is, and people have opportunities, and that's just how wrestling is. But I think it surprised some people that she decided to sign with WWE / AAA because of how the situation in the past, and then also because she had said not nice things about him, like within a few months before her not signing. What do you mean? That can't be right. 2 years in October? He said that the Serena Baker segment was almost 2 years ago in October. Where has the time? 2 years? That's crazy. How has it been? It seems like it was 6 months ago. What do you mean? Yeah, that is insane. Yes, it's what the sickos mean, Lawrence Zeeb hasn't been on TV for 18 months, 525 days, which is more recent than Nyla and Britt. I do think we see Britt at the Rebel Heart Dynamite show. I do think she'll be on it. I could also see Nyla if Rebel wants Nyla on that show. Nyla will be on that show. I think Tony will do whatever it is that she wants, and so I think Britt will. If Britt doesn't wrestle, she'll at least be on the show somehow, or she'll be with her. Maybe they do some sort of a little segment because she is scheduled, depending on how her health is. She is scheduled to appear on that Dynamite. So I could see. So if she wants Britt Baker to have a match with Nyla Rose and Serena Deeb, then Tony's going to make it happen. But that's 525 days. And then he's talking about almost 2 years. God, that's insane. It seems like it would just happen.
Right.
And we've been watching some of the, Nikki and I, we've talked about it a few times, we've been watching Tubi, the Fast Channel, and Tubi will tune on. If there's nothing else on, we'll just randomly pop on Tubi just to see like where they are in the Dynamite. Rampage, John Moxley may have killed Rampage for future episodes, but Rampage still lives on Tubi. And so we've been watching stuff, and so they've had, we've seen Rebel on there quite a few times since we've watched, and there's been some stuff with Britt and with Jamie. The old version of Jamie, there's been some Thunder Rosa stuff. We just got just past the episode where Wardlow got screwed by MJF when MJF almost didn't wrestle that weekend and pretty much torpedoed Wardlow's career. And then they were doing, and we also saw where CM Punk won the title and where he jumped into the crowd and broke his foot, and then he wrestled the match with FTR against Max Caster and the Guns while Anthony Bowens was in a wheelchair.
You could see Punk's face after he did it. I was like, oh, he knows what he did.
And then they didn't use them in the match that much. And then when he did get in, you could see him limping. And even Jim Ross was on commentary, was like, something's going on with Punk. Something's not right. And he was correct. And then we also saw Matt Sydal versus Bryan Danielson, and William Regal was on commentary. And then it was when Team Taz was still a thing, and we've heard Ricky on commentary.
What a time that was.
Unfortunately, we tuned in, and there's some of America's Top Team, which I hated. That's probably the thing. One of the things I've hated the most that AEW has ever done was doing that shit. And I was like, we aren't watching this.
We'll either mute it or back out of it completely because it was bad enough the first time around.
No, Wardlow never recovered. They heated him up again, and then they pulled him off, and then he got injured, and then he was recovering from some stuff. He got hit with a lot of injuries. He was in that car accident where he was concussed. Then he went to film American Gladiators, and then it's been just one thing after another for him. Me too. I would love Nyla back on TV, but I know the trans law sucks in many places that they go. Yeah, I've thought about that a lot, that's kind of when they stopped using her on TV. But I've heard that, I didn't get to read the interview, but I saw some quotes from it that Nyla's been working some backstage, so I'm glad that they're at least finding things for her to do. And I still working on this Hills thing. There's been a lot of drama and a lot of things happening, so the story's ongoing, and the article has been really long, and I may have to do some things. The article's coming, but 2 members had said that they wish that they had let Nyla run Hills, that they had just turned it over to her, which I think would be a fantastic idea.
Wonderful idea.
If Britt and Deep never show back up on TV, I'd be okay with that. The division. Oh, I agree. I agree that we've moved past them, but I also wouldn't be surprised if Britt Baker shows up on at least the Rebel Heart Dynamite in some fashion just because of Rebel. And I would be okay with, but other than that, no. Fernando asks, if New Day does arrive at AEW, is this the best tag team AEW ever had? I mean, I think you could say that now without them, because you've got Motor City, you've got the Bucks, you've got, and Cope and Christian, you've got some of the best tag teams from the last 30 years in just those 3 teams, not counting, the Dogs, the Guns. You could even have a tag team of Juice and Ace Austin. You have the Hurt Syndicate doing whatever they're doing. You've got Shane Taylor Promotions. They have Gates of Agony if they wanted to do that. But the New Day, I think, would obviously just take it to another, because they're two of the very best at what they do. And so I think you could have it just brings it back. Yeah. Nyla has been doing some stuff on the indies. She has does she still have the Japanese, the tag titles in Japan with, Nightshade, is that her name? I believe that she had won some tag titles there. So they've been doing a lot of stuff. Okay, so Brad says Nyla worked a ton in the UK and Japan with Nightshade. Thank you. They won multiple tag titles together. They're a fantastic team. As an aside, AEW bring in Nightshade. I have heard Nightshade's name, but I have never seen her. From that, I've never seen her wrestle, is what I was trying to say. Let's see here. Laurent says, you and Mel got a shout out in the Dynamite Diaries this week from Lyric and Danny. That's great. I appreciate that. I did see Danny shout me out, because Danny has also been covering the Hill stuff as well, which, the more people talking about it, the better. And she tagged me the other day and was really some really nice things. So I appreciate that. And Danny and Lyric they're great. I love them. And so that makes me happy to hear. And shout out to both of them as well. And definitely to Danny, because Danny definitely, she has her finger on the pulse of a lot of stuff. So I'm glad that she also is covering the Hill stuff, because it's turned into a shit show from the outside. I can only imagine from the inside, but from the outside looking in and just knowing and again, I know I don't, the people I've talked to, they're like, I'm only speaking from my own personal experience. I can't speak for, all of the members. And I'm sure there's some members who have, are really happy with some of the things that are happening now, but the ones I'm talking to, and I've even ones I'm not talking to, I've seen them talking about some of the things that they're unhappy with. So it shouldn't have gotten to the point that it is. It's really unfortunate that from what I understand, such a wonderful thing has now just blown up, and there's a lot of infighting, and it's just, from what I understand, it's gotten very bad very quickly, which is really, really unfortunate, because it didn't have to be this way. And so it's very unfortunate. Let's see here. I'm going to come back to your comment in a second, but let me go to Laurent. This is Nightshade, Hyperactive. I've heard of Hyperactive too. French Art and Lally. These are women's tag teams out there that TK can bring in. He just refuses to. And also, I mentioned it a few weeks ago. It appears that the King Bees are getting back together. And I would love for them to be in AEW. Because Charity King, as a singles wrestler, is fantastic. But she and Danny, I only saw a little bit of them as a tag team, but they were so good. And if Danny is back and they really are getting the tag team back together, I don't want her to, I also would, I'm also would like to keep Charity and Ashe and be selfish, but, she would be great. They would be great for the tag team division. Laurent said AEW's tag division is great. This is where it falls short of them not doing enough with the younger, less established teams. And I'm hoping that's something that's going to change, because people are talking about the Guns, because we're seeing, we were talking about this actually may have been prior to you coming in, Laurent. We were talking about the Swirl and how they're an underrated tag team and how good they have gotten. And Brad said, or somebody had mentioned maybe them going to New Japan to be in the World Tag Leagues would be something good for them. They have Busta in the Brain. In ROH, who was a really great team, that they really definitely need to do more to build them up, and then of course put some effort into the women's division for sure.
This is where my booking should come in.
Yeah. Let's see. Brad says, I don't know if TK is not wanting to bring in those women's tag teams as much as they don't have visas to work in the U.S. Sometimes there are issues outside of what Tony can or can't do. That's fair. But also, there are plenty of North American teams that he could be looking into. But you do make that's a good point. Especially we saw that with Forbidden Door and all the talent that couldn't get here for that. Crash, at one point, I believe they said, I don't know how recent the number was, because a lot of subscriptions lapsed when went on hiatus and then didn't pause their membership. And so they went an entire quarter without receiving their benefits other than having access to the message board and maybe getting some discount tickets. But they have members all over the world. They have members in Australia. I saw that they have members in Tasmania. They've got members everywhere. And so one number I heard was 1,000. Again, I don't know if this was pre-hiatus, during the hiatus, or, I don't know. I have not been able to confirm how recent that number is, but that is a number that I had heard. And then I've also heard 600, but I don't know if that's just 600 who are active. That 600 may be who was active on the message boards, because not everybody is active. Even prior to the hiatus, some people just had access and didn't use it. So I believe it was 600 who are active on the message board, and then maybe 1,000 overall. But again, I haven't been able to confirm if that's the current number, or how many people left due to them being on hiatus and just let because it's an annual subscription, it's not monthly. So some people just let their stuff lapse because of all of this. And some are going to let their stuff lapse for the first. I've talked to a few who are day one members and are letting their stuff lapse because of how this has been handled. And it's a very bad situation. Again, I am only talking to a certain amount of people, and I've seen some other things. So there's some people who, obviously, they're not speaking for everyone, but for the ones I have heard from, this is not a good look. And it's unfortunate that it got here. But yes, this is a good point that AEW doesn't give injury updates. The wrestler could just get hurt without being written off TV. And and that is, because and then sometimes they just disappear. Like even Jay White was banged up a little bit after the pay-per-view, but was cleared and competed against Finley. And then there's been times where Jamie has been off of TV for a little bit, and it's just because they were giving her backs. And I think it even happened with Stats. So they do kind of have people off depending on the injuries. Let's see. They are, from my understanding, but things keep changing. Like, I'm getting messages like almost daily about some of this stuff. I'm not trying to be vague. I just, the things keep progressing, which is another reason the article has not come out yet, because things keep progressing. And it seems like literally the last 2 or 3 times that I've written, I've gotten a message from a member with a new update. So it's, and now I'm trying to figure out how, because I have so much information, I'm trying to figure out how to condense it to cover whatever, try to make these members have their voices heard, but also so people can read it and digest it, because I know a lot of people are not like me and they're not going to sit down and read like a really long article. So I'm actually talking with my editor now about kind of how to handle that.
I told her to split it.
It may be that that is a possibility that this might be a multi thing, just so I can get because I have so much information, and then some information is already outdated because now we do have. So they were going to do a full refund. They're working with their third-party vendor or something like that. Then they were offering a free gift, but then the free gift was only going to be available to places where AEW has shows. So then other women were getting screwed out of that. So then they gave them new options, but then those options were kind of a mess too. And there's trying to be some compromise, but it's causing there's just a lot. And again, I'm trying to get all that information out there, and this will probably be an ongoing story at this point. People just don't read anymore. And you're right, Fernanda. That's what I'm saying. I am somebody who does read, and I enjoy long things, but I also know that I am in the minority a lot of times with that. And so
I read her articles, but sometimes if it's something really
if it's my daily DDT stuff,
or if it's the lot coverage that she did, I was like, well, I helped her on that. I don't need to read the whole thing. I'll open it, give her some views.
Yeah, appreciate it. Yes, views help. So that's part of how to handle this article and how I'm going to do it. And so I'm talking with my editor now to kind of see the best way to approach it. I didn't think it was going to take me this long, but and then things kind of moved rapidly because some change. I think maybe because people started talking about it publicly. Like the members were already talking about it publicly, and then I asked about it. Danny started asking about it. Then people were like, "Oh, we better do something about this." And so things have kind of escalated, but then things have also escalated on the negative side of it as well. So it's definitely yes. Fernando asked if Nikki and I get the wrestling at the same time.
Yes.
Yeah, I watched a little bit when I was younger. Like I do remember like Big Boss Man for some reason. Like
because our dad watched.
Yeah.
More frequently.
Yeah, and then one summer I went to stay with our cousin who lives in the same city. I just I was staying with her, and she watched WCW because of our grandpa, and so then I started watching, and then when I came home, I was still watching, and Nikki was watching. So Nikki was watching with me.
Because I knew who like Hogan and Ric Flair were, but I didn't retain a lot of that. But she turned it on, and the first person I saw was Kevin Nash, and I was like, yes, I'm sold. I don't know what's happening, but I'm sold on this, and I was hooked ever since. Our dad actually took us to like indie wrestling at a church, but we were kids and we were bored through it. I don't know how.
And they were doing it was the church indie, as in like they were doing it to show good and evil in the Bible type of thing, like that type. Like, of course, wrestling is usually, unless it's like a tournament, but most of the time, wrestling is good versus bad, and they rise up against the hill. So that's kind of what they were doing, but like.
We did make fun of the wrestlers who had long like mullets and shit. We did make fun of them.
Yes, one of the ones where the Italian Stallion used to live near us. Mm-hmm. We used to see him at the grocery store.
Yeah, and we would be in the grocery store, and it was either her or my dad. They were like, "Look, it's the Italian Stallion."
So, yes, he used to live nearby. Yeah, and would just randomly see him at the grocery store. I was like, oh, okay. But yeah, and then we both obviously stuck with it. Like there was a while where like, especially like pre-DVR and stuff, like we weren't missing, like we were home watching Raw, and a lot of times even SmackDown, like because we didn't want to miss anything, because if you missed it, you were out of luck.
I mean, our power would go out and it would like ruin our night because we wouldn't get to watch wrestling.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, we didn't know what was happening because it was back in the day where you didn't get updates like you do now.
Right.
So it would mess up our night.
It would. And there were times like our parents were not buying us wrestling pay-per-views, and so there was a channel we had an old TV, like an old what is the word? I'm trying, not a static TV. Technically it was an analog TV, but we had an old TV, and we would flip it to channel 98 or 99, and it would be scrambled. You know how it used to look like? We would always say it looked like flies on the screen. That's what it looked like, but we could hear what was happening. We could hear commentary, and every once in a while, the screen would clear up just enough that you'd see like somebody's hand.
Or we would see something like the most random like moment.
Yeah, we would see random things, and so we would listen to the paper. Like we would sit, and those pay-per-views were like a couple of hours long, and we would sit in my room or Nikki's room on that channel and listen to pay-per-views. That's we knew it.
And our dad would like open the door and be like, "What are y'all doing?" And we would tell him, and he would just judge us like, "Of course you are."
He's like,
and he would like kind of roll his eyes.
He's like, "Well, you're listening for free. I'm not paying money for you to watch it. You can just listen for free."
Being like, having money put to the side and be like, "Can you order this pay-per-view? Here's the money for it."
Yeah, and so we watched a lot with our dad. And then
he doesn't really watch anymore, but he gets information whether he wants it or not.
And so sometimes he'll come over and he'll hang out like while I'm working and stuff. And so like he watches, like, so he'll see stuff from AEW. Like like the other day he sent Nikki in this video of this MMA fighter, and he was like, I thought that was Orange Cassidy for a minute.
I mean, I knew it wasn't Orange Cassidy, but I could see how he would
think that maybe it was,
that got reminded him of Orange Cassidy.
Yeah, so he'll watch some of that stuff. He's been over here when we've watched some indie stuff, ROH or like New Japan, so he's seen like he
was
he's
here for
aware of who people are.
He saw some of Zack Sabre Jr. versus Yuya, and even towards the end of that, he was like, "Wait a minute!" He was like, "This is getting like." He pretends he doesn't care. He just kind of like looks up here and there, but even him at the end of that match, he was like getting really into that. And I was like, I mean, this is
Nikki and I were like, that dude is one of our favorites. Oh wow, this is completely unsurprising that the Italian Stallion used to get extras booked for the early Raws, and then he would take half the extras pay after they left the shows.
That does not surprise me at all.
Not in the least. And I think the Italian Stallion was on that church show that we went to.
I don't remember. We were very young when that happened.
He was on like one of them. Yeah, we were young, but I think he might have been on one. And then it says the Hardy Boys were two of those extras. They stopped using him after they became constant extras for the WWE.
Oh my God.
That is so on brand, especially because of the North Carolina connection between the Hardys and the Italian Stallion. So that's you learn something new every day, and also it's more of the same.
That sounds exactly like how I would expect him to act.
Crush said that just triggered me back. I used to have WWF as a kid on scrambled satellite TV feeds for years, essentially like watching and listening to wrestling on the radio. Commitment. Yeah, you did what you had to. Like we didn't know.
We got into WWE, which was later on. We did the same.
Yeah, and like we didn't know about tape trading until much later, and so I think had we had access to tape trading, we would have been tape traders. Like I think we probably would have been. Just because we did have commitment. But yeah, we didn't know until we were much older. We didn't know that tape trading was a thing, or that tape trading is something that could have potentially happened here. Like that sounds like, you don't really think of like how tape trading works. And I was like, was tape trading, were people in Charlotte tape trading? Probably, because Charlotte is such a big wrestling city. I'm sure there were wrestling fans in Charlotte or the surrounding areas doing tape trading. And tape trading, and obviously now that we know more about it, was so widespread, but it wasn't something that we knew about. But I think had we known, like I had a friend in high school, her and her boyfriend would order WWE pay-per-views, and so I would go over and watch, and like that's how I saw like I saw I think it was a couple of TLC matches that way.
But by that time I was like all wrapped the fuck up in Hardy Boys and Edge and Christian and all that stuff. So we found ways to watch that.
Yeah. Well, that's a good question. Hold on, Fernando. Let me come back to that. Let me go with this, and then I'll come back to you, Fernando. Crash says, "Oh yeah, tape trading was a must here. They used to have as the UK-based wrestling mags. I think the Observer used to do them too. I think so, but I didn't know what the Wrestling Observer was for a really long time. I didn't know about like the wrestling magazines here. Like we had our dad got Nikki a subscription to the WWE magazine for her birthday, and so like that's what we read. And then of course that's all WWE. Like it's all about them, and so like we didn't know about if we had gotten like we didn't know about like Pro Wrestling Insider or things like that. Like if we had, or Illustrated rather, like so if we had PWI that we had access to, then maybe would have known about tape trading or things like that. There, and Crash said that's how he got to see ECW in Japanese in the 1990s. And see, like I had access to ECW, but that was not my.
We did not like ECW.
That was not my type of wrestling, which is crazy to me now, considering how much I enjoy hardcore wrestling.
And now we watch GCW.
Like we used to watch GCW matches.
But I didn't like ECW.
Yeah, I didn't like it. And I had a friend that I was really good friends with in high school, and we talked about wrestling all the time. And he loved WWE, but he was much more an ECW fan. And he would always ask me, like, because Fridays was ECW. So on Monday, he was like, did you hear about this? So he would tell me stuff. And I'm like, no, I don't watch ECW. And he's like, he tried his hardest to get me to watch it. And it just was not happening. Crash says the dirt sheets were actually like pamphlets of a couple of A4 pages printed out on a home printer, probably. I love it.
Well, we did. Eventually we started getting dirt sheet information when we were like in high school,
right?
And stuff
because they were taking it, and like there were people in like back in Instant Messenger. There was somebody back in Instant Messenger who I don't know. I think because you could put stuff in your bios, and I had stuff about wrestling in there. So there was somebody they're like, I'm opening a wrestling school in like Concord, and like they were looking for people, and I was like, I'm not trying to. And they were like looking for like, I guess they were trying to get people, trying to recruit people for like wrestling referees, commentary, like all kinds of stuff.
Sketchy.
Yeah, but back then it was because it was instant message. Like that's how you connected to people. But then that's how I found, unfortunately, before I knew more about them. But like that's how I found No DQ. Was that there was a guy there? I found him on AIM, and I used to get wrestling. He used to send out email wrestling newsletters, and I was on his for a while until I realized should not be. But Fernando says he watched DCW because I was a huge Sabu fan. I can imagine so, especially because you got the other version of him in WWE. There was a question. Oh, Fernando asked, can you see Beth Copeland having a one-off match in AEW? I can see it happening. I think it has to be the right match for her, and storyline wise and things like that. But I could absolutely see her having a one-off match if it made sense for her to do it. I could definitely see her. As far as I know, like I don't know that she's having like any if there's any restrictions she has that would keep her from having a match. So if she was healthy and good to go, I could definitely see it. I don't know if it's a country album. It is an album. It came out on Friday.
Ew. I didn't know about that.
Yeah.
There's some things I try not to know.
Yeah, he some crap about how he's misunderstood and he wanted his kids to like, I guess, understand him or something when they get older and understand.
That's how you're
like, yeah, he's trying to make himself into a victim, and then he
somebody from WWE,
right? And he apparently I saw a random tweet for him the other day. He threatened to sue someone, but then also plugged his album in the same tweet.
What?
Yeah.
Yes. I felt like that Triple H meme just now where he scrunches his face and does like that.
Yes.
That's
when he was Hunter or something.
Yes.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Curryhead says I feel old because I didn't use to more growing up. I know those were things, but I don't think
grandpa had one.
I'm pretty sure
we didn't.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure our grandpa did. But our grandpa was super into technology.
Yeah.
He used to work for like a camera company. He used to repair cameras, and he was an early adopter of like the camcorder. And he was always and probably obviously because of the how he grew up and going from no TV to black and white TV to color to all of these different things in technology. My grandpa was definitely an early adopter of a lot of stuff. So I think that's probably why he had one. Says my first wrestling show was at a local high school in Kentucky in 1996-ish. The two standouts were Wildcat Chris Harris, and he was in TNA, that was post us watching TNA. But they brought him back recently. They brought him back they brought him back for a match because he teamed with AJ Styles, right? Wasn't that it, or was it teamed with? Or did he feud with AJ? This is a big guy named Prince Justice who would later become Abyss. That's very cool. He said that he had nice conversations on Twitter with Chris Harris about those old shows. That's very cool. That's a really cool thing. I'm glad that you were able to connect with him about that. Crash said that I used to send folks in Eastern Europe wrestling tapes behind the red curtain elevator. Mostly they wanted WWF and WCW, but used to get ECW and Japan stuff thrown in now and again. He said had a bunch of VSH recorders hooked up with a SCART leads to rip them off. That's fantastic. I love that. Fernando says his dad is 97. He was alive for the very first television.
Wow.
That's so cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, our grandpa was born, he passed has it been 14 years?
I don't know. I can't.
Something like that.
I'm not good at the math. I can't do quick math
so we were talking about that the other day about all the technology that he would have seen in his lifetime, and that's probably why he was such an early adopter of so many things, is because it changed so much for him growing up and in his lifetime, like the things that he would have seen. Curry has my first wrestling show, and I'm dating myself with Jerry Lawler versus Tommy Rich in a cage match where his lawyer got his hair cut.
Fantastic.
Oh, Lawler got his hair cut.
That's phenomenal.
Fantastic. Yeah, our first, like, we went to, like, the church indie show, but our first, like, legitimate indie show was at our old high school because Nikki's junior, which she can tell me.
Yeah, my junior high school history teacher also wrestled, and they were putting on a show at our old.
And guess what? It was High Spot.
Yeah, I was gonna say we didn't know what High Spots was at the time, but we saw Jake Manning there for the first time. Caleb Conley was there. We ended up meeting. I don't know if it was the same show, but it was like I think they had done a couple. But Ming was that one of those, and we have pictures with him. He was so nice. I was like, oh my god,
nice.
I used to watch him on WWE. And so that's how we found Cedric.
Yeah.
Because Caleb and Cedric were part of 704.
Yeah.
Loved them as a tag team.
And then we got so we went to a couple of the High Spot shows that were at high schools, and like one of them we saw which I talked about a few months ago when Brett Wolverton passed away, because I learned that he was on that show. It was before we knew him from PWX, but he was on that show, and I was going back through some old pictures and found him on there. And because it was Rick, David, and Reed Flair and the Nasty Boys with Hulk Hogan as a special guest referee. And Ricky the Dragon Steamboat's son was on there. When he first started wrestling, so that was the time.
We were behind Megan when they were walking.
Right.
I don't think it was Charlotte. I think it was Megan that we were behind when we were walking to the bleachers or whatever.
Oh, right. Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that.
And but yeah, it was the time. And so it's so weird for me and Samantha because there's so many people like we know in wrestling, like even just as fans now, and it turns out that they were at a lot of shows we were at. We just didn't know it. Like Darius Lockhart that was probably at shows that we were at, and we had no idea.
Yeah. Well, even like Matthew, who we talk about on the show that a lot, that's one of our really good friends that we met through PWX. We were talking one day and realized we were both
on Twitter.
We were at the same TNA show back when TNA.
He was at there was a show of when I think it was when Edge and Vicky Guerrero were supposed to be getting married, and he got caught cheating or whatever dumb crap was going on with that. He was at that show that we were at,
right?
And but he's a good bit. It's not like a lot younger than us, but like younger than us, where he'll be like, "Oh, I was a kid during that time," and I'm like, "Shut up." But yeah. So that's how, we've met some great people through indie wrestling.
We sure have. Oh, Fernando, I don't know if I know the answer. He said the first autograph from a wrestler, was it when we went to the book signing with the Hardys? So the Hardy, I don't know if that was the first one, but when I was in high school, I think it was.
Yeah.
When the Hardy Boys so then I would have been obviously older. I mean, I think I was. But the Hardy Boys released obviously when they released their book through the WWE, they did a book signing at a bookstore here in Charlotte, and we met them, and we've got a picture. We have a picture of the four of us at the book signing, and we had to write our names down because obviously they wrote.
I know what's coming.
And it said, like, it had a little post-it note and it had Samantha on there, and Matt Hardy still left the N out of my name. So it says Samantha on it. Which is funny. It says Samantha on it, which is funny because I used to have an aunt who also would leave the N out of my name when she
I was like, I mean, that N is prominent.
Yeah, like, so it's not silent in the name Samantha. So I can't remember. So they
don't have hard names to spell,
apparently. So that may have been the first autograph. I mean, we did meet.
I mean, I do remember, obviously, that was a very big deal for me to go to that because I thought I was going to marry Jeff Hardy in that time frame. I'll still marry Jeff Hardy in the time. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, so that was a very big deal. But yeah, now I was like, we have met several wrestlers, so now I can't remember.
Yeah, because we've met people like at shows and stuff. Like we met, like I think the one with me, we didn't get an autograph. We just got a picture with.
Yeah.
And then I'm trying to remember because like we met John Cena right when he was still wearing those crazy colored shorts, like before he'd switched to the jorts. Like we met him really early in his career. I think we got his autograph. We have a picture with him somewhere.
We've got JR's autograph, and we've talked about it before, but we unfortunately have Vince McMahon's autograph. But Vince was very nice, and I can see how he can work somebody because of how nice he came out. Yeah, I can see how he manipulates into his favor
for sure. Yeah, definitely. Looking back at that now, you can see. Oh, okay, that makes sense. So, I don't remember if that was before we met the Hardys, or if that was after. It was probably in the same time frame. Oh, that's a really good question. I really don't know who my first autograph. Like, I think that would be. But I really don't know. Yeah, definitely amazing. Yeah. Especially because I guess wrestling is still such a niche thing. Even when it was at its height of how popular it was, like it's still such a niche thing.
Yeah, because I still am like, for people that I know that probably are not wrestling fans of it, like I don't usually want to admit it because I know how a lot of people have the old mindset of, oh, that's what you watch, that's fake, and I'm like, okay, well the TV shows you watch are also fake, right? Most of them, so it's fun.
Yes. Brad says, hey, if you and Mel are interested in bringing on an OG honorary broad to talk about getting into wrestling, give me a DM. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Crash said, I tried to get into an ECW show in Florida when I was 16, but I was too young. Bill Alfonso tried to sneak me in. Oh my God. That's so funny. It was unsuccessful though. He says that he met Spike Dudley and the Disciples of the Apocalypse.
We have met Spike Dudley.
He
was drunk.
He was.
And we said something about Christian, and he said, fuck Christian! Aggressively.
Yeah.
It was funny, like he meant it as a joke, obviously.
Right. Curry Head said his first autograph was Scott Hall after I sold him some weed. Oh my God, that's incredible. That is such a Scott Hall story, and I love that. That's so cool and also hilarious. Are the Hardy Boys very cool in person? Yes. I've met them. We've met them several times. We met them at the book signing, and then they were booked separately at PWX because their together fee was very expensive. So they were booked on separate shows prior to them. Literally just like a couple of months before they went back to WWE, and it was so funny because I have video of Jeff cutting a promo talking about like fuck WWE and all this stuff. And then, of course, they showed up there a few months later. But obviously, they were dealing with lawyer stuff over the Broken Universe and all that stuff. But so they were on separate shows. And so we met Matt, and then we met Jeff again, and they are
Matt was
the
in
coolest.
His broken character when we met him, and I was trying to open my mouth because that's how he was doing it.
Right,
I opened my mouth way too big, and I didn't realize it until I was like. But I think then the picture was already being taken, so I didn't want to like have this weird like half shut thing going on. And I was talking about it with one of our friends, and he was like, "It's okay, you were just having a premonition." And
that's
right. That's what I'm going to tell everybody. I was like, my mouth is open way too big in this picture.
Yeah, but they've been cool every time we've met them. So that's been a very cool thing. We were going to talk about this has been a much better conversation than what I had planned, because we hit it about it last week because we talked about the state of women's wrestling in WWE, and we've hit on that a few times here throughout the show, and again, a conversation that Keila would have been perfect for. But I will, okay, well, maybe we'll stick with this. Maybe we'll save the Bayley talk for now. I mean, we did talk about Bayley last week, and if she comes, and would she be, which is why I wanted to talk to Keila, because we had the conversation last week. If Bayley if she ever comes, whatever point she comes, does she come in as the heel? Does she come in as the baby face? Do you have her tag with Mercedes? Do they go for the tag titles? Do you have a feud? Like, how quickly do you do a feud with Bayley and Mercedes? Like, so we have this again. Would have been perfect for Keila, but not today.
For me. No, I'm just kidding.
Not today. But the latest we have heard is as of last Tuesday, Bayley has not re-signed her contract. Like, she's still under contract with WWE, but has not signed a new contract as of last Tuesday. Apparently, from what I've heard, she's playing it very close to the vest. Nobody really knows what she's doing. And the video that she put out on social media that had clips of her working out with multiple people, including Mercedes, and then the song choice that she used was a song called All In, and then she said her caption was a reference to Double or Nothing. Obviously, she's trolling, but apparently it did not, for some people, didn't go over well backstage. With that.
Wait, backstage in WWE or
backstage in WWE did not go well.
I figured that it would. Oh well.
Yeah. But see, there's no but we don't, that's the thing. Nobody knows when her contract is up because the reports have been for months by the end of this year, possibly October. Now there's a rumor saying January. So I don't know if this is them putting information out there to throw people off. So if she does show up in AEW, it's more of a surprise, or if this was the correct information all along and the other months were wrong. It's really hard to say kind of for sure what's happening there. And then this is Bayley just teased that she was going to be on Raw tomorrow using a photo from last week's Raw. That said, where's Bayley? And Lyra has a match tomorrow. And then Lyra has been doing like the commercial break segments as well. So it's kind of up in the air. Obviously makes for a lot of good conversation on a podcast. TKO for the plug on Keila. Probably. Maybe it's not QT. Fernando says he met RVD at the Boston Market before ECW went out of business. He was working there and I took his order and I had to try very hard to hold my composure and his boss was next to him. That's so funny.
That's fantastic.
That's very cool. So we were going to talk about, there are some positives. Obviously, JC Jane just won the U.S. Women's title. But then also on that same night, they cut Saraya's promo. And then they announced, they did a digital exclusive where they announced, or they did a segment with Blake Monroe and Nick Aldis to set up the match with her and Julia on Friday. We've had Lash Legend beat Julia in 2 minutes to qualify for the ladder match. We also have one of the better storylines has been with Charlotte and Jade, and now it's grown to expand to 6 women being involved. That's actually a match that doesn't currently revolve around a title. Yes, Chelsea Green had a really great promo on Friday night. She's going to do a really good job with the getting to have to wear a face mask to wrestle. She has 30 days to find one. I loved her part. I did not love Gunther coming out there and making the title, talking about how her title wasn't important. She's not important, telling her to shut up. Clearly, it was leading to the match with Matt Cardona, which then Matt Cardona lost, so I was not a fan of that part. But the other part with Chelsea, and then Chelsea calling Gunther out and was like, well, I'm the only champion in this ring, which I thought was a great line. Chelsea did a really good job. So I think that Chelsea, they could have a lot of fun with that. So I'm happy to see that. So there are some positives there, but then there's some not, like we talked about it before about Liv telling Becky she should be at home with her kid, and then Becky telling, slut shaming her, and then now Stephanie is back. They seem to be setting up a feud with Stephanie and Becky. That could be really good if they handle it. The bare minimum should be good. So there's a lot of things that I don't like, but there are some things that I do like about that. Lauren says Chelsea has to defend her title in 30 days, but live whenever 100 days without a title sense. Make it make sense. Oh, well, they have to just ask WWE AI, and it'll spit it out for her.
Well, apparently that's what the Kingdom has to do now.
God, I hate that Kingdom storyline. I hate it. I hate it so much. Thankfully, the one thing, Frat House no longer exists. They came to an end. Preston is going back to Dark Order.
Praise be to He.
Yes, thankfully that's the thing. Frat House is no more, thank God. I know that they were doing. I know they were doing the best they could with what they were given, but God, it was not for me, and I hated that.
It went on way too long, though.
So hopefully, the computerized kingdom or whatever bullshit they're calling themselves will end much faster than that. And then NXT is not a show that I have to watch, so I don't watch it regularly. But I always hear that the women in NXT are always like they've got a lot more positive things happening down in NXT than the main roster but yeah, so again, that would have, not that you couldn't weigh in, but on that conversation, but this would just have been a conversation I really wanted to have with Keila.
Well, it would have been better because I'm not a huge Bayley fan, but I feel like I keep having to remind myself that whenever like this stuff starts circling, that this likely I probably will like her once she leaves WWE, because there's been plenty of especially women wrestlers that I'm like, ew, I don't like them. I don't want to see them. And the minute I see them elsewhere, I'm like, okay, yes.
She just didn't like the way WWE booked them.
I mean, but I don't hate Bayley. It's just she's not. I mean, she's just okay for me. But I get why other people like her. I'm not saying that I mean, I like some stuff she does, so it's not like, oh my God, I hate her. I don't know her.
Yeah, I mean, I would personally I think I would love to see her there and see her outside of WWE and see what she could do. And I think that she could do a lot more. But I just don't know that she's actually going to do it.
Right.
But yeah. Well, Hurt Syndicate hasn't been on TV for a while, and they just did this stuff with Collision. But I mean, if you are to believe the rumors about them, then they should be glad they're on TV. As somebody pointed out, that there were rumors that Bobby Lashley didn't want to take pins, just like he also has that same condition as Malachi, where his shoulders can't be on the mat for 3 seconds. So there was that rumor. They held the tag titles for 8 months and supposedly didn't want to drop the title to several different teams. Then there was the whole stuff with Speedball and MVP that apparently ended up not being what it was, or maybe they just kind of squashed it or whatever.
Or it probably wasn't as big.
So if those rumors are true, that Bobby Lashley thinks he's too good to take pins, then I don't necessarily. There's other people who could be on TV, and Collision is not a bad show. Collision is usually the better show, in my opinion, as far as when it comes to actual wrestling. Then Collision is where, that's where they should be. And it was and I'm kind of interested to see what they're doing with this Shane Taylor promotion stuff. Like they took their money or got their little taste of what we can do for you, but we're gonna need some more money if you want us to do the job. So intrigued to where that storyline is going, because the tag title scene is so heavy that I don't know where you put them, which is why a few months ago MVP said, hey, we're not going for the tag titles, but we're looking to do business with people. And then they finally remembered that, oh, we did say that. I guess we should hire them. I mean, maybe they were off TV, maybe they were dealing with some injuries or, dealing with some stuff that kept them off TV. So I'm interested to see where the story could go. Yeah, me too. Laurent said he likes Hurt Syndicate, but I like Shelton more when he was on his own. Yep. Shelton was a great signing. Even MVP could have been fine, but Bobby has been an albatross to both of them. Yes, I do like the little tease they did with Leo Rush though last night.
Oh my God! That was
so the segment with Leo Rush and the Rascals in the backstage, I really like, sort of the treehouse. I thought was really funny. I really appreciated that. And then Leo hearing their music and saying, "I know them," and then Bobby not wanting anything to do with him was I thought that was kind of funny.
That was great. And the other thing that was great was watching Leo do the rascal.
Oh, yes.
While they left him and he was just standing there doing the.
Yeah, I thought that was fun.
That was funny as well.
Yeah, I like a lot of Collision, but not a problem. But that's just an issue they're always going to have on Saturday night. But putting somebody on Collision doesn't mean that they're in trouble. It doesn't mean anything bad. I hate that perception is out there. And so Motor City, I mean, that was a Thursday, but Motor City debuted there. CM Punk debuted on Rampage. So I don't think that. So Collision, for those of us who do watch Collision, and yes, part of it is because I cover it, so I do watch it live. Whereas, if it was if I wasn't covering it live, then maybe I wouldn't watch it live every week, but I would, make sure I was watching. And I get it. Not everybody's gonna watch on the Saturday night, and that's just a problem they're always gonna have. But I don't like
done a lot of damage where they kept, especially years ago when they kept saying that SmackDown was the B show and all that stuff. So I was like, that's your own
bias.
Yeah, but also that's WWE is talking shit about their own product. You're in control of that. So
right.
if it's a B show, then that's your fault because you're booking it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think some people, and I get some people don't have time to watch.
Right. And so I hate that that's a perception for Collision, but I think it's something they're always going to have as long as it's on a Saturday night. I think they probably will. Brad says, I wonder if they bring up to Hootie Miles with STP now that he's joined them on ROH. I would assume that he would probably be there more often. I'm coming back to your comment in a second. Says since the tag team in AEW is stronger, what do you think about the 3-man tag titles starting to heat up? I think it's a lot of fun. I think that they're finally doing something with those titles, and like I said last week, that's a title that can be that you never know who's going to win. Anybody could win at any time. I like that. Where the other titles, obviously, sometimes you can see who's coming and who's clear. Will Ospreay beating Kenny Omega, the prime, we know that's happening. We know Brawling Birds are going to beat Divine Dominion. So, but in most title pictures, you kind of don't have that. It's a strict, we have to keep this title. And I like that there seems to be a little bit more spontaneity with that. And now you're making the trios titles feel important. Your tag team division is so stacked that you may not have room for New Day right this second, but you can bring him in, do some cool shit with Swerve, build up the demand. You can build up Lethal Twist. They could even do a combination of trios with the Bang Bang Gang. You've got, Lord knows you have enough people in Don Callis family. So they could do, so I personally enjoy it. I think it's fun, with that. We watched, it's funny you mentioned that. When we turned on Tubi the other day, it was the end of the segment where he debuted. It was we had just come back. It's when he told everybody they were getting the free ice cream. Is where we caught it, and that's where we turned it on. And so we had just missed it. And I was so much has changed in 5 years. It's insane how crazy. And you see what wrestlers are no longer there, and they're what they're doing now compared to what they were doing 5 years ago. Or you still have Griff Garrison was wrestling. I can't remember.
Well, I don't remember a random. He was wrestling, but they had Malachi Black versus Brian Pillman Jr.
Yeah.
What?
Well, what a time! That's an insane thing to think that was a match. And then the main event was the Lucha Brothers versus the Jurassic Express. So cool.
What a time.
Yes, what a time. Yeah, Brad says Lethal Twist and the demand is interesting. 2 trios as a unit seems weird. I wonder if they move Ricochet back to singles and Gates of Agony to tag with Lethal Twist, being in the groups with Leo. I'm not really sure, and I would rather see the Swirl as a tag team. than to see them as a trio. But I know that they're trying to get them in there, trying to get them
matched.
matched.
Bayley clothing.
Yeah.
So
I'm not really sure. Right. I'm not really sure what they're doing here with that. It is. Yeah. And I still fall back into it.
And I was thinking about it when you were talking. I was like, well, there was a while that I loved SmackDown like way more than Raw because I'm a big tag team wrestling fan, and that's where they had all their tag matches, and I still like be more excited and look forward to SmackDown because they had all these banger ass tag matches.
Yeah. Well, and again, like we've talked about it a million times, like for a while, 205 Live was the best wrestling that they were putting out at all, because it was the wrestling we liked, and it was really good. Yeah, Collision and Dynamite offer different things, and I think it's partly the intention, a little circumstance sometimes, but Collision is often the best wrestling. Oh, for sure. It's definitely a show for the sickos. Fernando says, how weird was that Jericho spot where he walked over to Don when he had the walls of Jericho applied and totally allowed himself to get hit? I think during that match, what was I doing during that match? I was not paying close attention to the Jericho match. I love Kevin Knight, and I don't know if I think I was doing something else. I wasn't paying super close attention. I did see Jericho sitting in Paul White's lap, though.
What was I doing? I don't remember this. I don't know what I was doing. I might have been.
Everyone is not me. No, I'm just kidding. I know you put everyone in quotations. Thought Brody was turning on Bandito at one point when the F Ice chants were huge to feud with him, since so it was something WWE would do. Get rid of this mindset, people. Listen, sometimes I fall back into certain mindsets too, because our brains have been wired that way for so long.
But my God.
Fernando says, do you think Mick Foley is being used correctly in AEW? Yes. He's doing what they brought him in for.
To be fair, I didn't really care about Mick Foley coming in. I don't know if it's just because I was like, not everybody from WWE has to come to AEW. However, he's been fine. I'm not saying
the thing where the barking things with the brawling bird was a little weird.
I think he didn't mean to do that.
Yeah, that was a little weird.
Because he said he misunderstood what they
said. Yeah.
So because I was in the kitchen and I was like, what is happening? And
then he did say later. Go ahead.
Then she tells me he's doing it, and then obviously later we found out
he didn't
hear
he
what
heard bow wow, not bow down. And that's why I did it. So that, but obviously that was clearly a misunderstanding. But I think overall,
but it's also very Mick Foley.
Yeah, I feel like overall, like they're doing it properly. He doesn't need to be wrestling, like Brad said. You don't need a GM. He can do stuff backstage, and he can go be an ambassador. Using him to do like the stuff with like the Bang Bang Gang, like that's fine. That
was actually fun.
Like that's a fun place for him to be. Like
it was fun that he did the dodgeball thing that they keep doing. It made me laugh that he did it too.
Right, and then he can do like I do miss RJ City being on the buy-in, but like that's what they should be doing with him, like putting him on the buy-in to give people a perspective that they may not have. That he can give, like, so that I think is like I think they're utilizing him correctly. No, Max Caster is on his way out. His contract is almost up, and it doesn't sound like they're re-signing it, and they, from what I understand, legitimately do not like each other. And so the Acclaimed is done, and I don't think Anthony Bowens is getting kicked out of the ops. I think there's a story with him there. Oh, Brad's already got me. That Max Caster is all done with AEW. The Acclaimed isn't coming back. They need to figure out something to do with Bowens. He's a good talent with too many gimmicks. I like him in the ops. Like, I like his presentation. I like what he's wearing. I don't like the stuff with Hook. I think they don't know what to do with Hook. And so they're making it doesn't, whatever they're doing with Hook is not working. But Samoa Joe continuously leaving to do projects and things like that is also hampering it. And then Shibata, and Shibata doesn't, Shibata technically should be in charge, not Hook. And so that storyline, so they've got to figure out what they're doing.
But it's a very Shibata thing for him to just do whatever.
This is true.
Just to use his talk to
right. That is
or
true.
Whatever you call it, and just say things. I mean, like I don't expect much less from Shibata. I mean, I don't mean that in a negative way. but
like Shibata should just be wrestling and that's it. I guess it's kind of, and that's probably how he feels about it. And I guess that's why technically Hook is in charge. But if you have a group with Shibata's the leader. Yes, that's what. Bring back the Google Translate for Shibata and let him boss Hook in. Like, just let him get so annoyed with Hook and Anthony that he just starts bringing that back, and he just was like, you know what? I texted Samoa Joe and told him this isn't working, and I'm in charge now. I'm the captain now. I do. There was a comment. It got moved about because we were going to talk about Haramu too when Keila was here. So yes, Haramu Takahashi, like they pretty much spelled it out in that promo that also I think only aired online.
Yeah, she made me come listen to it, and
like we kind of are like when Nakamura started teasing it, I was like, oh, it's probably Haramu. But then they had a shadow of Haramu. You can see that's who it is, and then of course he ends it and says the ticking time bomb.
It made me so sad.
But then it made me laugh because they said that he's violent, and I was
vicious.
Like, no, vicious. That's what it was. And I was like, are we talking about the same Haramu Takahashi? I love him. He's one of my favorites. I adore that man. But vicious is not a word I would use to describe him. But clearly, the WWE version of him, I guess, will be. I have been dreading Haramu in WWE. I am glad that he's with Shinsuke. However, Shinsuke is not someone who is booked on TV. Like, he'll be on, excuse me, on TV for a bit, and then he disappears for months at a time doing whatever it is that he's doing. And I'm afraid that, like, when he's not on TV, that Haramu's not going to be on TV. But maybe that's what Haramu signed up for. I haven't
more said, listen, if I say he's vicious, he's going to be vicious.
This is true. And then I have a friend who has a theory that Evil is eventually going to join them, which I could see that happening.
Well, too. And they're already putting them against Tama Tonga.
Yeah, so they're doing stuff.
I don't
like you have Haku.
Making it seem like they've never been. I was like,
they did a little bit with the Haku stuff where they were. I mean, not Haku. Before Haku came in, when Tama Tonga and Shinsuke kind of did a little bit of stuff where they kind of hinted at it. And
I was
then,
like, this happened for years in Japan. So thank you. They're like, no, it didn't. Nothing outside of WWE has ever happened.
So it's interesting that, they fired Tonga Loa and basically replaced him with Haku, and now Tama and Hikuleo have the tag title.
Which, by the way, we met, back at the OG All In, we met
we did.
Tama Tonga,
Tonga Loa.
Yes, I was trying to say Tala.
And Haku. Mm-hmm. Hikuleo he wasn't at all.
No, he wasn't.
He wasn't at all.
But
we met.
We blew Tama Tonga's mind because we have sister communication, and we answered him in the exact same way at the exact same time in the exact same octave, and he was like, and
I was like, you and your brother don't answer like that. Apparently,
I was like, listen, this is how we have talked since we were children. We do lots of things together, almost everything together.
They were very nice. I was a little sad because at the time they were heels, and I was wearing a Hangman shirt, and I was hoping that maybe Tama Tonga would like be a little bit of a heel about it, but he didn't. He was super nice.
Yeah,
he was not in character that day.
Other than the time we blew his mind that we talked at the exact same time and everything.
Should Fletcher turn babyface versus Okada? Well, it's Okada and Takeshita and Fletcher. I think a babyface turn is coming. I don't know if it's as soon as All In.
I think it'll be a little bit longer.
I think that I definitely think they are doing that. I think it's happening, but I don't know how quick. Maybe if he loses the title, that propels a babyface turn. If Okada and or Takeshita beats him badly enough, or maybe that's what turns him babyface when he goes along with Takeshita and they leave Don Callis behind. Could be that. I do see him turning babyface at some point. I just don't know that it's as soon as All In. I want to say yes, that he did drop the ball big time with him. However, part of it, I mean, it depends on who you listen to. Some people claim Danhausen didn't want to work on Saturdays, but he was working conventions on the weekend, so I don't know how accurate that is. But that was a rumor that was out there. He didn't want to work on Saturdays. But again, like I said, he was doing conventions every single weekend. I think they could have done a lot more with him. We actually happened to turn when we were on watching TV the other day. Hookhausen had just started. And so there, I think they could have done if they had. I think they could have played up a lot more and done a lot more with it. However, I do think that what they've done with him in WWE fits WWE's like what they do, and so he's been able to make the most of it. He's getting his bag. I've been saying that they're going to eventually ruin it and run it into the ground, and then everybody's going to turn on Danhausen.
I think they're already starting to burn him out a little bit.
Yeah, too much is happening too fast. So I guess in that respect,
I still love him, but I feel like when she told me about the human money on a pole mat or whatever the hell that was, I didn't watch it.
The internet didn't let me watch it.
But I was like, and then I heard that like it got a really low rating, which I know ratings are, whatever. But I was like, oh, this is.
But I just don't think that human money's on a pole match. It's not like I hope people weren't expecting like a 4-star match out of that.
Well, that's true, but I was just like, I had a.
But I did hear that it was the worst match on the card. But I mean, given what it was, like, that's when that was the day I was trying to watch for coverage and the internet messed up and
I was at my aunt's house,
so I missed it, but I heard it was one of the worst matches on the card. But I mean, Danhausen isn't there to wrestle. He's there to be a gimmick, and like Joe Hendry is kind of the same way. Joe Hendry not that Danhausen can't wrestle, and Joe Hendry maybe you can say he's a bit of a better wrestler, but he's there to be a gimmick too. He's there to be a character, which is what they're good at doing. That's why it's sports entertainment. So, I kind of go back and forth. So yes, to an extent, I feel like they maybe dropped the ball with him. I think they could have done a lot more with him. He was a top merch seller, and they could have done more with him. And I wish that they had. Regardless, I mean, of course, there's the other outside stuff. So maybe that was a bigger factor than we think. But I think that WWE has figured out how to utilize him until they run him into the ground, and so then people are going to turn on him and they're going to hate him. So,
and then they're going to make him.
But then
they're going to try to change his gimmick to something else.
But I mean, you can also look at the way that WWE booked Swerve and how they misused Tony Storm and things like that. So all companies do it, and you kind of, or maybe they're just not the right fit. Maybe it's not necessarily a fumble, but maybe it's just not the right place for them for what it is that they do, and so So maybe saying dropping the ball is not necessarily the best way to word it, because they're utilizing him in a way that AEW's product isn't, I guess is what I'm getting at. I did see Aaron Wolf pull out the Canadian Destroyer in the G1 and blew my mind. Was not expecting that. It was very cool. I did see that Zilla nearly killed Amazing Red with a botch code red.
Ooh, I did not see that.
Was not good. And now he's in NXT. He showed up.
Yes, Fernando.
I would listen. That works for me. I know most people in WWE, AEW wouldn't work for, but for me personally, as a wrestling fan, that's the deal I would take. I would accept that deal on Tony Khan's behalf. Yeah, so I'm sure there's some stuff in the comments. I think we pretty much covered everything. Again, thank you for this really insane show that didn't go at all. Like, well, it wasn't not at all. I wouldn't say at all. We covered the topics and stuff, but it wasn't how I would have figured it would have played out with Mel not being here, with Keila, internet giving out. Thankfully, Nikki stepped in, and you guys still dealt with me for a little bit by myself. Thank you guys. Again, we say it all the time. We always really appreciate you guys in the comments, but today I truly appreciate you being in the comments. Otherwise, the show might have ended. I mean, maybe it would have been better. Maybe we would have had a show that lasted, an hour and a half or something.
Well, Miley didn't she threw me
Miley
off.
left the room, and like I'm having to cut the camera out, so there's going to be sections where there's nothing happening. If we have new people today, hopefully you don't doze just on this broadcast. Come back next week, and
usually
maybe,
I am in the chat, not
maybe we'll have our shit together next week when Mel returns, and then for the All In pre show, we will have Keila Cash back. Hopefully QT and the internet and Danhausen will not curse her, and she will be here to give all her wonderful hot takes. We love her takes, and when she's on the
we cannot, nobody can handle a hot take. I mean, like they can't do them like
they come for the Keila hot takes. We know they do, and we love giving her that opportunity. And today we would have had one. We would have had plenty, but it wasn't to be.
I'm not even gonna try to do a hot take like
nobody
hers.
can.
Okay.
No. Thank you, Fernando. Thank you for being your curry head. Precious, thanks, ladies. Great job pulling a rabbit out of a hat this week, despite all the force majeure. Serious kudos. Thank you. Nikki was a fire co-host. Yes, thank you.
I appreciate that. Nikki was like, I don't know if these people care or want me on the show. And she was like, hurry up and get on. I was like, I haven't got makeup on.
I thought she was coming. I think what it was a text that came back, like it went off again, and I thought I thought she was already waiting. I was like, don't yell at me, I'm not ready. Yeah, I thought she said, because it said I'm at the door, and it was for when she was getting Miley. I didn't realize it was because and so I turned off the camera.
Miley did have to go to the bathroom, so at least she got down for a good reason other than and not just being.
Yeah, so it's been a day. Again, thank you so much. And again, if you're here for the first time, hopefully we didn't scare you away. Please come back.
I'm not usually here. I'm usually in the chat. Because I made a YouTube account a long time ago. I think I love Metallica. So if you see that, that's me. It won't let me just display my name like it used to.
Yeah, they out here exposing people.
I know. I mean, I do love Metallica. However, some people I think don't know that. But yeah, so I'm usually not here. I'm always in the chat. But I am, as Crash says, I am their co-producer because I will follow what's happening in the chat.
Because usually you guys see it before we do because of the way it pops up on this StreamYard.
So if somebody is saying something that's not cool, I'm like, you need to get rid of this. Somebody said something.
Right.
Or
she does help me with that.
One of our friends sends a breaking news. I'm like, hey, this is breaking news. You need to.
Yes. So Nikki does help with the producing. Just so today we had to pull her in front of the camera, and hopefully the mic didn't cut out too much. And hopefully next week, come back next week and see if we got our shit together, or if it's going to be more of the same.
I mean, I can always make a return whenever I need to.
Yeah, Nikki might have to do another run in, but we shall see. And again, thank you so much for sticking around with us throughout the day, or if you're watching us on a replay.
Crash, I almost put a hat on for Mel, but I was like, but that's her gimmick. Maybe I shouldn't.
I don't think Mel would have minded. I think Mel would have appreciated that, but
yeah,
maybe next time.
Well, thanks everybody. Thanks for being kind and always being supportive of having me in.
Yes, and we will be back next week, and we'll see how things go because it's live, so you never know. But thank you again, and we'll see you next week.